Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of May 28th, 2024. And as usual, we'd like to start our meeting by doing the pledge of allegiance. Please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, community starting with Ken. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Kenny Carson, commission member. Eric Burbick, alternate. Mike Kozlowski, commission member.
Kitty Grant.
Screw Reagan, commission.
Oh, sorry. On the screen, Bob. Oh,
You mute.
okay.
You're not talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Diane.
Diane,
Diane Ryan, Commissioner.
and that is Bob Legnard. One of
think
us.
Unmute him.
Okay,
You have to unmute yourself, Bob.
is he doing, is he,
He's still muted.
well, he just did this, so we introduced him, so I think it's okay for right now. Okay, members?
Amanda Martinez, recording secretary.
Dave McCollum, land use coordinator.
Okay, excellent. All right. So we shall go to the first item on our agenda as a brand new public hearing. Samantha Edelman, accessory structure, 10 Topstone Drive. And Mike, would you please read the legal notice into
Yep.
the record?
Public notice. The Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on May 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in conference room D of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut, to hear the following. Samantha Edelman for property located at 10 Topstone Drive for a special permit to construct an accessory structure to house a home office and associated amenities. The property can be found in the assessor's records as map 31, block 47, and lot 019. A link to review the materials can be found on the town's website. The public may send comments via regular mail or email to landuse@bethel-ct.gov. Parking for hearing is located in the rear of the building. Paul Shanley, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
David?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Mhm.
The Edelmans are, and their entire immediate family, so it appears, is in the audience tonight, so I will defer to them if they want to add any comments, with respect to this application. What is before you tonight, why this has come before you tonight is the Edelmans are requesting 2 exceptions. The first of which is for an accessory structure to be greater than the size that is normally allowed for accessory structures in any residential zone. If I'm getting my notes correct, the total square footage would be roughly 640 square feet. 576, excuse me, which is greater than the 400 that is normally allowed. The other exception that they are requesting for is to allow a home-based business in this accessory. Oh, that is changed? Okay. Okay.
It's not really a home-based business. So my husband and I both work from home. I work at Save the Children and nonprofit leadership, so I'm on the phone a lot. And he is a programmer, developer, doing code, does not want to be around people who are on the phone a lot. And so while our current dwelling is rather small, we have a shared office space and it's just not working for us. So we are putting in a pool, and so we're putting in this accessory building pool house kind of space that we are thinking he would put a desk in there, but it's not a home office business. He doesn't have clients. He doesn't have people come to the home.
I'm a contractor, so anything is either as we are right now, video, or I travel and once in a while outside of the home.
So it's not really like a home-based business. He's just going to he will have a desk in there, but it'll also have music equipment and a couch to hang out by the pool and stuff like that.
Thank you very much for clarifying that for me. If you just don't mind, stating your names and addresses for the record.
Oh, I'm Samantha Edelman.
Hi.
Topstone Drive.
Joe Edelman and Topstone Drive.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent. And that's pretty much the crux of the application.
Do we have any other reports?
There are no other reports.
No, that's okay. So then I guess our next step would be to go to the public. Would anybody in the public here to discuss this application? Yeah.
Chris Busnell, BBF Design for the record. I'm actually their designer also.
Oh, I saw. I didn't realize that.
So trust me, they need the space. I did the original house. It's very small. They have the kids and the dog and downstairs in the basement where they have their office. It's literally face to face where they're working. So the space is definitely warranted.
Mhm.
We meet the height requirement of the 16 feet.
That's correct.
feet.
16.
So from medium average grade. So we made sure that design met that criteria because that's very important, especially for the height. So we're definitely in the clear there. There's just the couple square feet extra that, but it's truly gonna be a pool house slash storage. The upstairs is completely unfinished. There's nothing up there. It's just storage. There's no stair from within, so
So it's 2-story.
it's 2-story, but the upstairs is all like just the attic space under the roof. And we have just an access door to the back or just whatever storage. So it's completely unfinished and, so again, just wanted to speak for the.
Oh, please.
plan.
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware. I should have been. I'm terribly sorry. So that's great. More information the better.
Yep. So, really nice design, very cute, it fits within the property and it's not overwhelming and it's actually into the hill, so it's gonna look like it belongs. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, we spent 2 years planning this and really thinking about how to utilize the space, and my kids are super excited. They both play music. Cash plays the drum and guitar and Finn plays the piano. So
Yeah.
we're
So now
excited.
they won't have to do it in the house. They can do
Yeah,
it back
that's the
there.
other thing is that we're trying to work and there's music. So we're really excited to just kind of make this space for them. So we've spent a lot of time and we've been very thoughtful about, thanks Chris, about how we want to design this. So
Yeah, it's been about 2 years in the making of
Mhm.
planning and dedicating time to how this fits our family. We're gonna gain a really nice chunk of space that's otherwise not useful because it's in a sloped down rear yard.
Mhm.
So it opens up a lot of opportunity for us to do what we need as a family and have the space that we need.
Sounds great. Thank you. How about commission members? Jack, you have any questions, any
Sounds like-
comments?
Sounds like a good plan.
Jacob?
Eric.
Eric, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We'll get
I'm
there.
thinking of somebody else. Please forgive me. I'm okay.
Yeah, no, sounds exciting. I saw the drawings online. They all look great. Like, great design.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question, you say it's 576 square feet. Does that include the storage space on the second floor?
I believe it does, right, guys?
Because the dimensions, which are outside dimensions,
Mhm.
does not take into account everything is 24 feet by 20, and then you have the full bathroom.
Yes. The 8 by 12 off the side.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So then, does it include the second floor in the storage?
no, I think it's-
But I mean,
but it's not really.
isn't the square footage based on the footprint?
That's correct. So the way the regulations are written, it's with respect to the footprint of the structure, not necessarily any other stories that may exist above the footprint. So, that's where that number, the 576 square
The
feet is
400
coming.
is just the footprint,
Right, that's,
flat on grade?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Now, you mentioned that there's no interior stair, but there is an outside access.
there's just a door in the back because the ground is actually level on the front and then it's a really steep
Right.
berm incline. Yep, exactly. So on the back, we actually just put a door access because you have to provide access to any concealed space by code. So that's the only way in. Yes, there's no stairwell, there's no.
Yeah, so we do have a current 10 by 12 shed that we're removing from the property. That looks noted on the survey. And so what that is going to become upstairs, it's going to be a little short for me, but it will be our shed and outdoor space slash pulling things out of the basement garage. So strictly storage, and we'll be gaining extra storage space as well from inside the house to be able to move out. So the second floor will be a
Lawnmower and snow blower and stuff
Halloween
like that.
decorations and building materials from that we still have.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the headroom up there is like full headroom is like only like 6'8" and it's only like 3 feet wide. I mean, that's really all you have. It's very, very low. Very low.
Thank you. Bob, do you have anything to add?
This is already, what is there a building already there that you're adding to?
No.
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 This is new.
Diane, do you have anything to add?
Muted, Diane.
You're muted, Diane.
You're adding an additional bathroom. Did you have to go and do a perk test, or I don't know if you have septic or sewer or whatever? Did you have to do anything with the health department?
No, we are all city utilities.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons why the health department did not have any comments to offer on this application. That's a good question.
See, I would like to apologize. I didn't ask if anyone on Zoom had any questions.
If you want to offer that to them, Madam Vice Chair,
I
go
would like
ahead.
this time, if there's anyone on Zoom who has any questions about this application, please let us know by, what do they do, David?
There's an icon to raise your hand in the
Raise your hand, that's it.
toolbar at the bottom of the Google Meet app.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Hey there, I'm Rob Schweitzer. I own property, can you all hear me? I live at 1 Topstone Drive. I used to be a planning and zoning commissioner, as Kitty might remember. Just want to say that these folks have done a great job rehabbing this property. This looks like a really nice plan. Happy to see it. And just a quick question for the commission. Does there need to be any kind of stipulation for future owners of the property, just in regards to the nature of the home office and the fact that it's not something that can allow, it's not something where you would generate traffic, like retail traffic?
Good question. There.
I'm not sure I understand that question. So the way that the regulations are written, is that you can't purpose any kind of accessory structure in a residential zone to be any kind of bona fide commercial enterprise, for lack of better words. But if the commission wanted a stipulation to be added as a condition of approval, either for the special permit that you would approve or to the zoning application that staff would approve, we could accommodate that.
Thanks, Rob. That's a very good idea. Thank you. Thank you for that idea. I wouldn't
Great.
get any less from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kitty. Appreciate it.
For your comment, Rob, about what we've done to the house.
Thank you.
That.
If you want, come on up here and give your name and address. please.
I was just giving it from here. Cynthia McCourt, you know.
No, you have to come up because it has to be on video.
What if I can't walk?
I know the feeling.
Cynthia McCourt, Dale, 19 Elton Avenue. This is nothing, great idea. I just want a point of clarification because I too was thinking of doing this, and I talked to Beth a lot. And I asked her specifically, is it like disturbed earth? Is that how the square footage is? Like my house is 1,100 square feet. If I built something like 1,000 square feet, if I wanted to do 2 stories, it's included in the stories. It's not. That's what I was told by Beth. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Right, so the height of a structure is measured from the base of average grade. So you may have a structure that is inset to the ground where either part or all of the foundation is exposed. What you would do if to try to accurately measure the height of the structure is you would go from, if I'm using my terminology correctly, the toe of the slope to its heel. So depending on which face of the structure is set into the earth, you would measure from the height of the grade at one point on the elevation and measure it at the other point. When I say point, I mean corner, and add those two and get the you would add those two and get their average, and that would be the base, what we would consider to be the base of average grade. For the purposes of compliance with the regulations, then you would then measure to what's called the midline of the roof, which is halfway between the peak of the roof, the very top, and the eave, which is where your gutters are. And that gets you your building height, at least for how the zoning regulations define it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to clarify that 2 stories, like you can have 1,000 square feet, like a rectangle, or 2 stories for 500 square feet, one on top of the other.
Right, so the regulations define when it comes to, describing or giving a description for the allowable sizes of a structure, it's based on the footprint of the structure, not necessarily the amount of material that's removed. So you would perceive the world as if it was a two-dimensional plane. So if the architectural plans show let's say, just to give you a number, a 30-foot by 20-foot foundation, we would, the regulations would interpret that to be as having a footprint of 600 square feet, if I'm doing my math correctly. So that's how you would get the footprint for the structure. It's not necessarily the material that's removed, it's the footprint.
Okay, forget what I said about the server. We can go on, I can take this offline, but just if there's no foundation and you've got 2 stories,
Mhm.
how are you determining the square footage? That's what I understand. That's what I want to
It
understand.
might be an accessory structure.
Yeah, well, that's what it
Were you
is.
talking about an accessory
I'm
structure?
talking about an accessory. I think they are too.
No,
Yes.
yeah, I didn't know if you were talking about a primary residence versus
No.
accessories. Okay.
So,
But I'm
so
saying, I was told by Beth that she's not here to confirm or deny, but I just wanted to ask because, and for the ADLs, because we don't, if they said either, I don't know.
yeah, the total square, the total square footage of the structure may be in fact larger than 576 square feet, but with respect to the regulations and how they're written, that's how you have to request the exception, is based on the square footage of the footprint of the structure, which is what's on the ground itself.
And I just want to reinforce that it's not really a 2-story building. Like the second story is barely like Joe said, he's gonna have to hunch over and it doesn't really, so I just
Sure.
want to
Better than
reinforce
going in
that.
the crawl space.
It's not really a 2-story building, so.
Easier up there.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay, I believe that's the end of our questions there. Does any other commission members have any other ideas? No, I think we're going to say that this hearing is closed. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And Madam Vice Chair, and to the rest of the commission, I would advise you consider, if there is no other discussion to be had on that application, that you decide or that you decide whether or not you want to deliberate on this application. as
During the
part-
work session?
That's correct.
All right, we will do that.
Yeah.
Do we have a consensus in the commission that that'll be all right?
Yep.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a continued public hearing for Diatri Corporation, Tri-Town Special Permit, Excavation and Fill Permit, Text Amendment, 18 Stony Hill Road. Mr. Olson.
Good evening. My name
Good
is,
evening.
my name is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of GAT Corporation, represented by the Patels sitting here, our civil engineer, Mark Lancor, and our traffic engineer, Kermit Hua. Everybody's sitting in the front row. David is making me do the presentation tonight. And the problem is I have my presentation for my comments on the same laptop. So I'm going to go back and forth between the two. And hopefully not confuse everybody. So those of you who were at the last hearing or saw it on Zoom, remember our architectural presentation. I just want to talk about this briefly. First is the purple field that you can see on the corner of the building is intended to be slightly lit. And there was a question last week about what kind of lighting it would be, and Beth asked me. And essentially what happens is these parapets here, the white with the black across the top, and there's another one down here. On the back side of them, they have a tape LED. There's a strip of LED lights. And when those are on, they shine on that at the very bottom, and they illuminate a little bit going up. They're not upward directed. They're not running on the purple field. They're just at the bottom and provide some uplighting. So I did want to clarify that. Now, you may remember there's two pieces to this application. There's a site plan, which we'll spend a lot of time on tonight. and the text amendment. And I just wanted to address one bit about the text amendment because I don't think I explained it clearly enough at the last meeting. So the regulations say, when it comes to wall signs, which is what we're talking about, that each tenant may have 2 wall signs. And there can be no more than 1 wall sign per facade. So if this building had 2 tenants, we would be permitted to have 4 wall signs, 1 on each facade, all 4 facades. 3 tenants, 6 wall signs. You know, because it's broken down by tenant, we would have some tenants getting 1 per facade and some facades having a second sign. And again, 4 tenants, math keeps going up. So the issue isn't number of facades because the regulations clearly allow all 4 facades to be used. The issue is that we only have 1 tenant. And so the minor change that we're asking you to make to the regulations is to say that when you have only 1 tenant, you can have all 4 facades used. So that's that request. And I don't think I was clear about how I explained it last time. That sounded like a bigger change than we were asking for. There's still the request to allow to have the wall signs on the 4th story when the regulations allow 4 stories as opposed to 2 it is today. We did hear back from the corporate design department about the number of signs they would be looking for, and the answer was 1 on each facade. So our request stands, they would like 1 on each facade, despite what is shown in that image. We received some comments from the health department. Sort of the biggest open question we had with them wasn't answered, and it's whether or not we need a grease trap. Essentially, our kitchen area is designed for more or less reheating of pre-prepared foods. There's no cooking of sausages in the morning and things like that. So it's cooking and cleanup. We don't believe that's going to require a grease trap. But we didn't get an answer from them that said you need 1 or you don't need 1. It just sort of said, well, you might need 1. So we're going to keep working on that. If we don't have an answer by the time you have to close the hearing, we're just going to assume we don't need 1. And if we then find out we do need 1, we deal with it as a field modification to the site plan, or if it's significant enough that it's a change, we'll have to bring it back to you for an amendment. We don't think it's going to be needed based on the use in the kitchen. At the last meeting, we had Maura Newell-Wan, our architect, go through all the dimensions of the various floor plans and the elevations and the view from Stony Hill Road. Let's see if I can advance to that slide. And we had Bill Kenny, who is the landscape architect, talk about the plantings. I didn't bring them back tonight because I promised last time we would focus on the engineer and the traffic engineer, and I deferred some of your questions. So I'd like to introduce Mark Lankor. He's the civil engineer for the project, and he will go through that piece of this. I'm just going to call up his colored site plan so he has a place to start. Mark, you can start talking at your convenience.
Good evening. My name's Mark Lankor. I'm a principal engineer with Dymar. We're located at 800 Main Street South in Southborough, Connecticut. And it's a pleasure to be here with the commission. I think this is a pretty exciting project, and I think it's one that I suspect, I'm hopeful that the town will enjoy, and knowing that it's going to pay good taxes. My primary focus tonight really is just to kind of walk through the site plan with you, utilities and drainage and that sort of thing. What you have before you right here is a rendered site plan of the illustration of what the new facility is going to look like with the existing hotel and the proposed hotel. And as far as the existing site it's roughly about a 2.2 acre site. You know, it's as our client knows, you know, they're going in the process of doing a major facelift and obviously offering in new facilities. And I think the renderings from before what was shown was an illustration of those efforts. The site itself consists of about 23,000 square feet of an existing building. and about 74 parking spaces is what exists on the property. No, 54 parking spaces what exists on the property at this point. And the way the site drains currently, you'll see in purple there is a area, it's a drainage ditch that was determined through a process of going to wetlands, that it is not a wetland. It is actually just a drainage ditch. And it's also been verified by Bill Kenny, who is a soil scientist, and our geotech Down to Earth, who provided us with some boring information in terms of designing the facility. That drains basically from Vale Road and Route 6, comes down through this property next door to Danbury Hospital property, 24-inch pipe, and then discharges directly onto our property into that ditch. Ultimately, it ends up in I-84 and goes underneath the highway. We did meet with DOT, and this will be one of the points we'll talk about, but we met with DOT. DOT itself, I-84 is in here, and then this land here is just the state of Connecticut. It's excess land. When they actually developed the highway system and the state had property, DOT basically took and identified their right of way, and then there's this excess land. So it's kind of hanging out there, and we have been trying to get in touch with the folks in real estate in Connecticut, state of Connecticut, in order to allow us to do a few things. But you know, the state, it's a little slow. So, so we're working on that. About 5.5 acres is what drains through this ditch off the property, of which 0.2 acres roughly drains in terms of our facility, which drains from Route 6 north to the state property. Now, one of the things that is important to know is that in March of this year, the state of Connecticut, DEP, had changed their drainage manual. Became much more rigorous, and it actually, its primary focus was to be able to provide more infiltration retention on site in terms of holding back more of the water. And they also increased the water quality volume requirements from 1 inch to 1.3 inches, which is really a 30% increase. This plan addresses all of their new regulations. So even though your stormwater manual hasn't been purely updated yet to that, we did go through and provided those computations to show that we can meet those requirements. And if you really want to go to sheet C4. That's C3, C4. Okay. I don't know if you have the one that was sent out in color. No,
Just give me a second.
nope.
Told you David is better than me.
Yeah, so, but just as far as the site itself, it's served by public sewer, and gas, and water. We've already met with the Public Utility Commission. Okay, it's as best as I can get, right?
Want to zoom in?
Yeah, a little bit. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty good right there. That's even though it's the back end of the site. It's the existing utilities, like I said, is public sewer. What we're doing now with the sewer is that because this particular facility is at a lower elevation, we have to actually pump up. And what we're going to be doing is actually improving what's coming off the existing building, because the existing sewer is really flat and it's only 4-inch. So we're completely removing that pump station. Everything's going to go to 1 and then go back up to the street, which is a good thing. And the water will be coming off the street as well. And then it has enough pressure and flow to handle the building itself. The drainage you see is in blue here, pretty involved, because what we need to do is that the drainage that comes from our adjoining parcel is discharged at a head wall right now, discharges out into the open ditch. So we have to pick that up and bring it to the point where the actual ditch is at this location here. And then we make sure that we separate them out, because we're not taking responsibility for the town drainage or drainage system next door. So this whole system is pretty intricate in terms of the way that it works. Basically, it's underground galley system. And all we're doing is that we're separating out the water quality numbers from our detention numbers so that they work independent of each other. And that's in these galleys here. And what's fortunate is that we have very good soils on site. So this all works in accordance with the way the state wants it to follow through on. We do have on site, because of grading and that sort of thing, we have a wall that's along the state property. And then we have a wall, small wall along our neighbor to the west itself. When it comes down to, all the components of access, the building is completely surrounded by sidewalks. There's a terrace here for outdoor, for people to enjoy the outdoor morning breakfast light, the drop-off area in the front. The existing building itself has got some real improvements in terms of its parking and configuration in order to provide more green space for landscape islands. We've actually eliminated a curb cut in the front. DOT was very happy about that, because DOT is always trying to eliminate curb cuts, and that we were able to maximize the number of parking spaces we needed. We have 120, we need 119. That's the number that by both in the regulations. And the currently total number of units and spaces that are required. There is also 10 compact spaces, or 11, compact spaces in this area over here. That's permitted by your regulations. It meets the percentage, so it's not asking for any more or any less than what we are allowed to have. We're also providing a bus shelter in the front. This was, discussions with Beth, being that this is en route for bus location. So this bus location would be here. And then we're going to be introducing the standard lighting pattern that the town has in their light system. That is not following through on site. That's the ones that are inside the site are more contemporary in nature. They're going to match the actual vernacular of the building itself. But on street, you will be seeing the lights that you are accustomed to seeing that meet your regulations. And then when it comes to a few other items, that was an SLR's comments. I'm just going to briefly go through those. I'm not going to go through them at liberate. There's 32 of them. Most of them were pretty much what I call housekeeping items and clarification to make sure that the commission and the public has an understanding of what's here, but nothing. In fact, there was nothing that was actually addressed on drainage, which is something is unusual. I usually always get a whole lot of drainage comments. But in this case here, the only thing was just a clarification how the system worked within the context of the new DEP regulations, which we provided. The state of Connecticut, I mean, the one thing that came SLR is that looking to have a protection on their property in terms of the discharge that's coming off of our property. We're showing it here, but we do not have those means or rights to get that yet. We're still working that out with the DOT, and we're going to have to, whenever here there's a riprap channel that is actually being installed. That's not on our property. We would need to get permission from the state to do that, like temporary construction easement or whatever. And from that aspect, I think I've pretty much covered everything that I think I need to cover. That is really important to the way the project is working. And I'd like to probably, well, one other thing I'm going to just say is in terms of photometrics, that was one of the things that we added on the last revision, is that the photometrics, and it shows it meets completely within your regulations.
Thank you, Mark. I just want to follow up. I know I said this at the last meeting about the state of Connecticut. Mark said exactly what happened, which is they took more land than they needed for 84. And when they dedicated the land for 84, that bit of it gets controlled by Department of Transportation. The other land, everybody seems to go, I don't know. Nobody seems to know who's in control of it. So we're working with our legislator to try to get either an easement to do the work that we need to do, or actually outright acquire it. Which if we do, we'll be able to eliminate the retaining wall, and we'll come back to you with a revised plan if we can do that. We think that's a much better plan. A lot less work, which helps us financially. So just wanted to follow up with that. Let me introduce Kermit Hua, the traffic engineer. Kermit, any plan you want up on the screen?
No, this is fine.
Okay, good.
Good evening, Chair, the Commission. My name is Kermit Hua. I'm the traffic engineer for this project. I'll be really brief. By the way, for the record, my address is 277 Reservoir Avenue, Unit 1101, Meriden, Connecticut. What I did is I first collected traffic counts at the two main adjacent signalized intersections near where this is. One is Route 6 and Vale Road, and the other is Route 6 and Garella Road on both sides of the site. And I counted those, peak hour counts for weekday morning, weekday afternoon, and Saturday midday peak hours. One surprise I found is it was really busy, especially for westbound traffic on Route 6 on Saturday midday peak hour. Actually, more busier than weekday hours. And the other thing I did is looked at the peak hour trips for these 68 new homes based on federal highway standards. The estimates are 31 trips for the weekday morning peak hour, 40 trips for the weekday afternoon peak hour, and 49 trips for the Saturday midday peak hour. So these are the total of entry and exit trips. So for example, for the Saturday 49 trips, that's the total of the vehicles entering and exiting during that 1 hour. And then I just sort of superimposed these new trips onto the traffic network and looked at the future level of service at a side driveway as well as at the two adjacent intersections. Generally, the traffic approaches are operating at what we call acceptable level of service, or better during the peak hours. The approaches with relatively longer delays are like I previously said, the Route 6 westbound approach at two signals, and also the southbound Vale Road approach during the weekday afternoon peak hour and a Saturday midday peak hour. So you see some queues and delays on those three approaches. As for the driveways we will have, the remaining one driveway, no problem for the weekday morning, weekday afternoon peak hour. The average delay is less than 20 seconds for traffic to exit the driveway. For the Saturday midday peak hour, we are looking at about 50.3 seconds. So that's a bit longer. One of the reasons is just because it's so busy for the westbound traffic. Chair, you have other questions?
No, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm fine.
So, this is nothing unusual, for the driveway on Route 6, just because of the through traffic volume that exists on this road. The other thing we did is before we submit to the town, we met with the district, full office DOT district. The only traffic comment they have is about these. There's a retaining wall there. So it's difficult for traffic from this approach and this approach to see each other. So the civil engineer will do some work to make sure address this traffic concern. That's the only issue we have out of that meeting. The last thing I want to touch on is there was a comment, I think, from a town planner about the previously access management plan for Route 6, which I did 12 years ago for this corridor. At that time, what we were proposing is, make these two driveways one way in for one driveway and one way out for the other driveway. So what we are proposing is closing the driveway closer to the Vales Road intersection and just keep the existing one, keep this one as a two-way driveway. So my thinking is overall, these two approaches sort of achieve the same goal, which is try to limit as much as possible interactions of the driveway traffic between the driveway traffic and the through traffic on Route 6. So this also works. I have no issue with that. The proposed configuration of maintaining this one driveway as a two-way driveway. So overall, when I compare the net increase in traffic on this side with the through traffic on Route 6, incrementally, we will just add very little traffic to the corridor during the peak hours. There are some existing issues. I said, delays for the two signalizing intersections, but these are existing conditions. There's not much we can do at this point. I understand DOT is doing some improvements for this part of Route 6. I reached out to them. I did not hear back. Probably they don't want to reveal what they are thinking at this point. My understanding is they are still at the design stage for those improvements. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kermit. DOT probably just doesn't want to tell you when they want to do it. Mark, before I wrap up, can you just talk about the stop bar question that came up?
Sure. Mark Lycor, for the public record. To Kermit's point, the design does include, there's a retaining wall here that comes down. We're actually cutting that back so that when somebody stops here, they can actually see somebody in this direction. So that's on the plan. That's what we're going to be doing. And then the stop bar here was really, we're showing it. I can tell you DOT actually told us they didn't want it, but your consultant asked for it. So we're showing it. And what happens is in the end of the day, when we go to DOT, they say remove it. We have to remove it, but we're showing it right now.
Okay. Is that western driveway there? Is that for accessible reasons or just convenience? The one that we're talking about with the retaining wall?
This here is circulation. This is an existing drive that's
Okay,
there.
so
It's a
existing
one-way existing drive. So actually, to the point, we did look at the town's largest aerial vehicle for getting in terms of fire truck. And that is important. It does, everything makes it, comes all the way around and then it's able to exit this way. So
I
that's
assume that for
fire protection. So.
You by any chance, did you answer all of these questions? in
Every
one
single one. Yes.
Oh, okay.
This had the best, I don't think that's has.
Because there were a couple of things I didn't see, but that's okay. I'll look for like the electric charging stations and where the snow is gonna go. I'll look at the paper.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's all we have for our presentation tonight. Obviously, we're available to answer any questions the commission may have.
Awesome. David, you have any?
I don't want to speak for Mr. Tabagna as it's pretty obvious that he is unable to join tonight's meeting. So it would be worth confirming with her that the applicant has sufficiently addressed the comment that that she had raised, that they had offered comment on tonight. Just to touch back on a couple of other items, housekeeping, if you will, just to make sure all our P's and Q's are in order. The last set of comments that you have, review comments, that is from the Bethel Health Department, they're dated May 13th. So you would want confirmation from them as well as SLR and all the other reviewing parties that are customary for reviews of this nature, that all of their comments are sufficiently addressed.
I have one quick question. Are you anticipating closing this tonight?
No.
Okay, that's all you
We
need.
submitted our revised plans last week.
That's
So we
what I thought.
didn't, with the holiday, we did not expect to have responses from SLR, Beth Cavagna, or the health department. So
That answers everything.
but I think that we're in a position where we think we're done and we would expect letters saying, good job, guys. And, at the next meeting.
We'll let you know that after we read all the notes at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
So if the commission wants to continue this public hearing at their next meeting on June 11th, staff would advise that you do so.
Okay, but first we're going to see if there's anybody who has
Sure.
questions as to this application. Anyone here? Please come up front and give us your name and your address.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry?
I think we just go ahead.
My name is Tom Filatico, and I live over in the Chimney Heights section. And you guys are talking about the Vale Road areas where the New Vance has the empty building. Is that what you're talking about building? So I'm just clarifying what you're talking about.
New Vance Building is adjacent property to what they're proposing.
Okay.
Based on these drawings, is on the right-hand side.
Okay.
What's behind
Okay.
the motel?
No, the reason, my only concern is that with the traffic over there, okay, we've seen it on Saturday. You were talking about the ins and outs, something like that. Now, I live over that area. I've seen that place on Saturday afternoon. There's like a conga line going from the Big Y all the way down to 84. So how is this it's just gonna add more congestion, I think, possibly, right?
Kermit,
If I may,
Kermit, wait. We hear from all the public and then we get to.
That was just like, yeah, I'm not guessing. I was curious to know, how is it gonna help the congestion over there that's there? It's already a problem right now.
understand.
Okay?
I'm sorry, but what happens is you'll ask the question, and then all the questions will be answered when all of them have been asked. Okay?
Okay, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who has any questions about this application? I'm sorry?
There's one online.
Oh, somebody online and BJ Liberty. Okay,
BJ Liberty, 8 Grand Street. I was just wondering if there was any consideration to putting in an EV charging station in this facility. Thanks.
that's in the SLR comments, so.
We'll answer it when all.
Right. Okay, BJ, you get that one? Okay, anyone else have a question? I guess we only have the two.
Okay, good. We did submit as part of our application, Mr. Wa's full traffic report and his conclusions, and he described them here tonight. Let me ask him to come back up and again explain his conclusion as to the Vale Road intersection.
Right,
Which, by the way, we all know is terrible.
I live there too.
right. In a way, I think, the signal sort of, it's to our advantage. It sort of has a metering effect, right? You have eventually Route 6 is gonna get a red light, let a Vale Road, or the Benedict Road traffic to move. So that in a way sort of create a gap, especially for our traffic getting out of driveway. If say there's no signal at Vale and Benedict, that they probably wait much longer, especially on Saturday, than 30 seconds. So I understand that gentleman's sentiment, because I was there doing the counts on Saturday. It is pretty heavy. You saw some queues like waiting for an extended period, especially going westbound on Route 6. Again, going back, my previous point is, you have a signal. The effect is stop traffic. In a way, it's sort of make it easier for our traffic to get out of the driveway and for other left turns to get into our driveway. So that's my response.
Kermit, just one question. Did you say that our project will make traffic better on Route 6? I don't think you did.
We will not make it better, but overall, I think incremental impact is limited. Obviously, we will have impact, but if you compare the, 49 trips or whatever peak hour, compare the overall through traffic, we are accounting for a small percentage of 1%, 2%. So it's nothing unusual. If you think about the day-to-day fluctuation of traffic on Route 6, probably it's more than 1%, 2%. So nothing significant, I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
And let me ask Mark to address the EV question. We did talk about it at the last meeting. I think Kenny had comments about why we did not propose EVs.
Sure. Mark Lightcore again for the public record. EV stations, one thing to be clear about them, they are not considered parking spaces. They are temporary. They are docking areas. So therefore, if you've got to meet your zoning regulations, you cannot count that space. So we're at 120, we have 119, but very rarely, I've never seen where you can get away with just one. Everybody that we're dealing with is a minimum of 2. So the question really comes down to it. And we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we can't provide to meet the provider. And then we would be in a situation where we'd be not compliant with parking. So that's actually how we responded.
Thank you, Mark.
So do I see anyone else who has any questions anywhere? How about Commissioner Mendez? Anything this, right now, this is gonna be continued, so.
Yeah, I think anyone not from Bethel who's gonna try to take it right out of the parking lot, it'll be a little shocking. That's it.
Attorney Olson, I was wondering, could you take us back to the first slide? Just help me kind of envision the signage. I could, the picture that we saw, that's not what you're hoping it looks like at the end, right? That only shows two signs? I just wanted to kind of give it my head wrapped around what you're asking for it to look like.
My cursor is stuck. Give me a second. There we go, I got it. So the rendering you're looking at only shows two sides of the building, right? Front side, right side. We've been advised that the standard would be to have two signs showing on this image. And I would guess it would be one here, but it could be one here, one here.
Okay.
Presumably the back side has the same two signs, one on each facade. They're white, they would be lighted at night. It's a very cold temperature light. And I don't know whether they would be lighted on the, if they were on the white, because that would seem to be, I don't know, not as visible.
So there's gonna be two signs, one on the front of the building, one on the back of the building.
The intention is four signs, one on the front, one on the side, and then in the back corner, one on the back and one on the other side.
Two facing Route 6 and two facing 84.
Well, yeah, it depends on where you're standing on Route 6, right? I mean, we're looking at this from the right side. So these two facades are facing Route 6. If you were on the other side and looking at it this way, you would see the left side and the front and probably not even see the sign from that direction, but.
Is your sign package not right now, not part of the application? I know that you're trying to
No,
get the
it's
text.
not, correct.
So you'll be back with,
It doesn't come to you, it just goes to staff.
but it would go to them to
Yes.
look at where the signage is in the regulations.
Yep, to make sure it complies with the
Square
regulations.
footage and everything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I would like, I'm kind of along the lines of Eric. I know it's not part of this application process, but if possible, if the architect could show what they would look like, I think that would help people understand it here on the board.
Very much.
Just a comment. Two other quick things. I think the back building looks fantastic. I think some of the upgrades in the front look good. I think the black squared off arches, as Maura talked about them last week, I'm not sure I'm in love with those. I know it's just a suggestion, but I would look at how we could kind of blend that in a little bit better with the back building. I know they're separate brands, but they look very stark, like just in your face to me. That's just my preference, just speaking. I asked about the accessible road. Mark, you kind of answered that already, so I appreciate that. Yeah, just that front facade, if there's just a little bit more cohesion with the existing architecture. I know we're trying to update it, but it looks like we went a little too far from what was there. Just, again, my opinion, but.
Just a comment I have from last time, which addresses the traffic situation. Yes, there's a break when the light is the right color. But then what happens is we get the bus, it's a one lane in the west direction, and the queue will prevent people from being able to turn. Just a comment. So my suggestion would have been to have a pull off for the bus, which I know wasn't an ideal for you guys.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
I'm not looking
you know.
for an answer. I'm just telling you what'll happen. Because,
Don't disagree with you.
right? So then we'll have the buses stopped, the light is green, we have all the people coming, we get past, we turn and we can't go. Then we have the people going further west, they can't go because everybody's stopped at the intersection.
The often question is that when you put to the side, you have a bay, then you have to merge with the mainline traffic.
Yeah,
So that
you
becomes more
put in the
challenging.
blinker.
There is a reasonably sized buffer that you can see on the Google Maps that the bus will presumably take up all that when they park in it. So people will be able to get past the bus. They shouldn't be driving past the bus. It's not a school bus, but I still think you shouldn't be passing buses, so. But people will do that.
Okay. all right.
Commission members on Zoom?
Thank you very much, Peter. Are there any members on Zoom who would like to speak about this, Bob?
Peter, I have a question. At some point, it's been talked about in the past about Route 6 somewhere down the road getting into 4 lanes. Is that, what does that do with that bus area or the front driveway area? Is there enough room there to even put another lane in?
Well, the state owns a significant right of way that isn't just the existing paved Route 6. So you can see on this plan, the yellow is our property line. And then you've got this whole buffer area before you even get to the pavement. And then you've got, you know, the shoulder of the road and then the single lane. So if the state wants to put a second lane there, they can do that. There's plenty of room for it. If there's not enough room for it, they'll have to take our property. I think the effect would be to make us move the bus shelter back and move some of our landscaping back if they did that. But I think Route 6 is wide enough for 4 lanes.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm looking at. Is technically there's enough room there to put the second going down that part of the road without.
But I will just point out, when we did the development at 48 to 50 Stony Hill Road, one of the things that was looked at was whether to make it 2 lanes in each direction, and DOT's recommendation was to do bypass lanes. So it's not always the case that they want to expand the whole thing to 4 lanes the whole way. That they may say, well, in this area, we need a little bypass lane to let people take a right turn and then narrow it back down again. So they, you know, but it's really whatever they decide is what they're going to do. We don't really have anything to say about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Route 7 was supposed to be 4 lanes all the way to Norwalk.
Yes.
Okay, Diane, do you have any questions, Diane?
I have a question about the purple thing that's behind the sign. Are you only planning on having that on that one corner? Or is that gonna be on another corner of the building? And in traveling, I have not seen that. Is that a new thing from the hotel organization? Because I've seen more, you know, smaller, round, purple things with the sign on it. It just seems like that's very prominent.
So I'm 99% certain that this will be mirrored on the back corner. So it'll be on the front right corner and back left corner in terms of the purple field. You know, the corporate branding changes on a regular basis. They update, they modernize, and this is their current branding. Maybe Kenny Patel can answer a little bit more about what he's seen around the country in terms of using this and phasing it in.
Yeah, for this brand, Sleep In by Choice Hotels, this is their newest prototype. They haven't redesigned the exterior facade of the building in the past 15 years. And so this project will be likely the first one to hit the country with the new branding.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? I'm gonna wait because I'll pour through everything during the next 2 weeks.
One other question I have is, are you going to have anything on the highway that will show that that's coming? Or which way do you think people are going to be coming to come into the hotel? Which direction?
We won't have any signage on the highway on our property. Right, those are billboards that require a whole separate process, and we're not proposing that at all. My hope would be, I guess, that the state has signage ahead of exits, you know, restaurants and gas and lodging, and we could end up on that sign. I don't know where it is, approaching exit 8 or approaching exit 9. I can't think of where that signage is, but Presumably it's already there and would have, you know, because there's a bunch of hotels at the off-ramp for exit 8. So I guess, I don't know, Kenny, is the Econo Lodge on that sign?
Yeah, since we just rebranded to the Econo Lodge, current the old Days Inn sign is still there.
Okay.
On both approaches, and it's being replaced, and so.
Yep.
The new hotel would just be, another slot on that highway sign.
And didn't you say that there would be signs on both sides of the building? So from 84, wouldn't they be able to see the signage on the building?
All 4 facades.
That's what I thought.
So presumably 3 of
They'll be
them,
able to see it.
3 of them will be visible from I-84,
Right.
except for the fact that there's this big piece of property that we don't own that's
Right.
fairly wooded, right, Mark? Yep. So, I don't know
Why
whether,
don't you just ask them if you can clear it?
Yeah, good luck. If we own it, maybe we can do that, but I couldn't tell you how tall the trees are and how they would relate to the building.
But if they're lit, then you can do that. Yes, Mr. Coates,
May I ask a question?
of course.
Thank you.
Yes, please come up.
All right. Yep. Brad Colts, 1 Child Drive. I just want to, as a point of clarification, because I thought I heard something and then it seemed maybe not. Is the intent, relative to the signage, to ask the town to change the town's sign regulations to accommodate this? Or is the intent to ask for a variance for this project to accommodate the different signage? 2 very different things. I thought at the beginning, I may have heard that there was a request for the town to actually change the regulations that affect all signage in the town relative to this, as opposed to the variance. And I just would like to clarify.
Sure. Peter?
Yes, there are 2 applications before the commission. The first is the site plan, which we've spent a lot of time going through in detail tonight. The second we spent a lot of time on at the last meeting, which is a request for a zone text amendment to change the zoning regulations regarding wall signs. As I noted, we think it's a minor change for where you have 1 tenant to allow them to use all 4 facades, where any other number of tenants can already use all 4 facades. And then the second change is to allow that sign to be located above what it currently says is the 2nd story of the building. And obviously our building is 4 stories. We requested that change in the fall, which you approved. And so the idea is that the wall sign should be allowed to go to the highest allowable story. So that's
And that would be townwide.
Yes, but it doesn't apply to every single building and every single property in the town because of the other limitations of the sign regulations.
Oh, you have another question?
I do. You mentioned that you did actual traffic counts. You sat there for hours and hours, tedious, mind-numbing job. Did your calculations include the development that's going on in that corner for 47 units?
No, it did not. During this process, I contacted the town about, what other development I need to include in this traffic study. I did not hear back, so.
Okay, because that was actually under construction right now and 3 of the 47 are.
I'm not a local resident, so I reached out to town, I did not get back.
Okay.
Just to be clear, it's not a 47 unit development. It's 24 single family homes.
24.
24 single family homes.
But it's not included.
Okay, any other questions? Either on Zoom or in the room? Hearing none, this hearing will be continued at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, could we take a 5-minute break, please? And could we
Turn on the air conditioning? Make a motion. Take a 5
yeah, turn on the air conditioning, holding it back.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, turn on the recording. Your recordings. Okay, we have a public hearing that has been continued and actually being heard tonight for the first time. Shree Reed LLC site plan special permit, 140 Greenwood Avenue.
Mr. Chairwoman, is there any correspondence which should be acknowledged for
Yes.
the record?
Yes, I'm going to read. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm looking for a date, May 28th. The name is Sherry I'm writing in support of the proposed apartments at 140 Greenwood Avenue. There's no secret that Bethel is an increasingly popular place to move. It's a wonderful community and much more affordable than Lower Fairfield County. People want to move here and they need places to live. Younger people aren't interested in buying your old colonial on a half acre. They want apartments or condos close to the downtown where they can easy access to restaurants and events. They don't want to worry about mowing the lawn when on vacation. They don't want to deal with ongoing home repairs and improvements. The different lifestyle, we don't have the inventory to support. Everyone freaks out as soon as they hear the word apartment. People complain about cutting down trees to build more housing. People complain about tearing down old homes to build new ones. If they include apartments, people complain about adding apartments where there are already existing buildings. What does that mean? Adding apartments above an existing business doesn't change the look and feel of our town. Plenty of buildings on Greenwood Avenue have apartments above stores. I shop at English Apothecary regularly. I have never seen more than a handful of cars in that parking lot. So I can't imagine that a few apartments are going to make it impossible for people to park when they're doing business in those stores. New housing units have to go somewhere, and a already built up area makes sense. And this is Sherry Axel. Next, we have Daniel Villasis. I'm writing to express my strong support for the proposed project, We Have Housing at 140 Greenwood Avenue. This initiative is a vital step toward enhancing the vibrancy and economic health of our downtown area. Increasingly, the availability of housing in the downtown core will provide much needed accommodations for residents, support local businesses while boosting foot traffic, and contribute to the overall sense of community. By approving this project, it will help Bethel make a significant step toward a more sustainable and thriving future. Thank you for considering my support for this project. Dennis Bailey. Dear Commission members, I am unable to attend the meeting on 5/28, and I am writing in support of the proposed project to add apartments above English Apothecary. Design appears to be well thought out and in character with the surrounding buildings. The heightened setback from the street is similar to the heightened setback of the buildings at 162 through 182 Greenwood Avenue, which has retail at street level and two floors of apartments above. Parking for this project will be accommodated by private parking at the same property and should have no impact on street parking for other businesses. Downtown businesses will benefit from the addition of these units as tenants will be able to walk to all of the wonderful things our downtown has to offer. Small apartments will have a normal impact on the school system. The owner and developer is also the owner and pharmacist of English Apothecary with a substantial financial interest in not creating a situation that would hurt his primary business or the business of his existing commercial tenants. I believe the town desperately needs small rental apartments, and the location is ideal for this project. Please vote to continue moving this forward. Members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Babu Kazanam, I hope I'm saying that right. I am writing to express my support for the proposed new apartment building in downtown Bethel at 140 Greenwood Avenue. Having lived in Bethel for the past 12 years, I have seen firsthand the potential our downtown area holds and believe this development will bring significant benefits to our community. Firstly, the addition of a new apartment building will make our downtown area more vibrant and dynamic. Increased residential density will contribute to a lively atmosphere, attracting more people, enhancing an overall sense of community. Secondly, the new development will have a positive impact on our local economy. More residents in the downtown mean more customers for local businesses, which will help creation and a stronger economic foundation for Bethel. Lastly, this project will make our town more attractive and potential to new residents and investors. A modern, well-designed apartment building will signal growth in progress, showcasing Bethel as a forward-thinking and welcoming community. I would also like to highlight the recent Wolfen-Tester Crossing development, which has been a great addition to the downtown area. Its success demonstrates the positive impact that thoughtful, well-planned developments can have on our community. The proposed apartment building promises to build on this success and further enhance the vibrancy and attractiveness of downtown Bethel. I wholeheartedly support the proposed apartment building and urge the zoning and planning department to approve the project. It aligns with our town's goals and economic development and community enhancement. Tim and Sue Gardner. The purpose of this letter is to support the application of Shri Pokri, in the building of apartments above his store in Apothecary. Shri and his staff are the most professional and supportive retail healthcare workers we deal with. They are always here to answer our questions, be supportive, and totally understand the needs of their customers. I cannot think of a better person to develop and own property in Bethel. There is so much building going on in Bethel. As someone who lives off Stony Hill Road, who has watched the destruction of open space and woods, I cannot understand how anyone would have a problem with Shri building on top of an existing building. His building will not change the footprint or the natural beauty as too much of the building in town has done. We are constantly hearing how housing is needed in the area. This is the perfect solution to ease some of the housing needed. In addition, precedent has already been set. There are several buildings in downtown Bethel that include retail and apartments. Lastly, I know Shri will never do a poor job. His integrity would not allow shortcuts or subpar qualities. Please approve this application to the apartments above his store. Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission. I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to express my support for the new upcoming apartment project in downtown Bethel at 140 Greenwood Avenue. After reviewing the plans and considering the potential benefits it could bring to our community, I see no objection to this development. I see it will give a very positive impact to Bethel City in the following ways. Historic city revitalization. Building apartments in downtown areas can contribute to the revitalization of historic cores, making them vibrant and attractive places to live, work, and play. Cultural and social opportunities. Downtown areas are often cultural hubs with theaters, galleries, and other venues nearby, providing residents of apartments with abundant opportunities for cultural enrichment and social engagement. Sustainable development. Concentrating housing in downtown areas promotes sustainable development by utilizing existing infrastructure, reducing urban sprawl, and encouraging walkability and public transportation use. Increased property values. The demand for downtown living often leads to increased property values over time, offering a solid investment opportunity for apartment owners and attracting further investment in the area. Mixed-use development. Many downtown apartment projects incorporate mixed-use development, combining residential, commercial, and retail spaces in the same area, creating a dynamic and diverse urban environment. Community engagement. Living in a downtown apartment often fosters a strong sense of community, as residents interact with each other regularly in shared spaces and through community events. Access to amenities. Downtown areas typically offer a wide range of amenities such as restaurants, shops, cultural institutions, entertainment venues, all within walking distance of apartments, providing residents with a convenient and vibrant lifestyle and increase in customer flow to the local businesses. I believe this project aligns with the vision of our city's growth and development. It has potential to contribute positively to our urban landscape. Therefore, I respectfully request that the City Council consider approving the project without objections. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you require any further information or clarification. I'm sorry, sir. SURYAMANOJ, sorry. 8 Hopkins Court, Bethel, Connecticut. I'm sorry. Roberta Mifkin. My name is Robert Allen. Oh. My husband Steve and I have lived on Wagon Road in the town of Bethel for 20 years. In fact, I am a townie I have graduated from Bethel High and am part of the many changes in town over the decades. I am 100% in favor of the residential expansion of the apartment project proposed for the 146 Greenwood Avenue for many reasons. The added height to the current buildings balances those adjacent. There is more than ample parking in the rear of the building itself. And perhaps more importantly, the town of Bethel, like so many others across the state, is desperate for more apartments. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Roberta K. Owen. This is Ray and Linda Gearco. We are writing to express support for the proposed project at 140 Greenwood Avenue. Having reviewed posted plans and considering the potential benefits it could bring to our community, we believe this project is a valuable addition to our downtown landscape and viability. The proposed development adds quality housing options to downtown Bethel, providing residents with modern living spaces. Furthermore, the location of 140 Greenwood Avenue offers convenient, walkable access to essential amenities, public transportation, recreational facilities, enhancing the overall quality of life for its residents. The development's location in downtown Bethel also fosters connectivity with existing downtown properties, promoting social engagement and community building among those residents. As a resident of Bethel, we believe that the residential apartment development at 140 Greenwood Avenue will contribute positively to our town. Therefore, we offer this letter as our support for the project and ask for full support for its approval. We would like this letter to be entered into the May 28th meeting record, please.
And just to clarify, Madam Vice Chair, those are all public comments that were received since close of business this past Friday, May 24th.
All right. So,
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Good evening.
sir.
My name is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of SRIRE LLC, which is the owner and the applicant of the properties at 126 to 140 Greenwood Avenue. The principal of the LLC is Srikant Fury, sitting to my right here, front row. And we also have with us Dinas Verbicus of Artel Engineering, the project civil engineer, and Chris Pesnell of BBS Design. He's the project architect. I put up on the screen the GIS map for the town. The property surrounded in red contains the current English Apothecary building and the M&T Bank. And the property to the right of that, number 8, is the retail Hood Jacqueline's restaurant on the property next door. The GIS program doesn't let me put a red box around both properties at the same time, so that's why you only get one. Both properties are included in the application. However, the principal development area is on 140 Greenwood Avenue above the English Apothecary. There is a little bit that juts out over 126, so we included that in the application, as well as the parking lot in the rear is more or less shared among the two properties, and including them together helps break down the real parking calculations. And I just do that when we get there. We have about 1.8 acres total. The property is located in the transit-oriented development district overlay, and underneath that is the village district, village center district. In the village center district, it is what the state statutes designate as a village district. I know the terms are the same, maybe it's obvious, but that statutory term is a village district. And the primary reason to have a village district is it allows the commission to regulate aesthetics and architecture, which you generally don't have the power to do that anywhere else except in village districts. So in the village center with the village district overlay, you have that power to review architecture. In the TOD itself is a village district, and that also has the power for you to review architecture. So we're going to focus a lot on architecture, make Dinas feel a little useless, unlike our normal presentations, but the architecture that we've proposed has been submitted to and reviewed by Alyssa Volpati, who's the town's architectural consultant, the commission's architectural consultant. She provided us with a number of comments over the course of a couple of meetings and letters, and we responded to a lot of that. And we got a couple more comments by email today, which we'll ask Chris to go through. Prior to filing these applications with Planning and Zoning Commission, we filed an application with the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. This allows the front entrance onto Greenwood Avenue within what would be considered a setback. And so you can see that on the plans. The Zoning Board of Appeals granted that variance. I think it makes a much better project to allow that. You have two applications before you tonight. One of them is for a site plan. In the transit-oriented development district, all development requires only a site plan. It does not require special permits for development. A site plan, just to refresh you, is an application over which the commission has administrative review. What that means is that if the application meets the criteria of the regulations, then you have to approve it. That's what a site plan is. You're probably used to having special permits along with site plans, because in Bethel, any building that's over 1,500 square feet in size requires a special permit. Special permit, you have discretion, you have a page and a half of criteria that have to be followed. But for this purpose, there's no special permit, just for the development itself. Now, there is a special permit for something associated with the development, which is what's called a permanent shared parking reduction. Under the regulations, not in the TOD, in the regular regulations, where you have uses that are essentially operated at different hours of the day, the commission can allow a shared parking reduction of up to 25% of the required parking. The idea is if you have retail during the day and residential people coming home at night, those parking spaces can be dual purpose. They don't have to sit empty during the day for the residential and empty at night for the retail. So that's the theory behind a shared parking use reduction. And there's three requirements. There's that the parking facilities interconnect. That's if you've got multiple properties involved. Here we have two properties and it's one giant parking lot. There's really no distinction between the two. That access is acceptable. We have the entrance under Greenwood Avenue and appropriate easements are granted. We don't need any easements because it's all within this property. And that the commission is satisfied that the parking meets the needs of the joint users and occur at different hours of the day and that adequate parking will be available. So that small bit is part of a special permit, which is before you. The idea is you don't get this automatically. The commission has to review and be satisfied that it's okay. Dinas can go into a little more detail about the parking when we get to his turn, but there's a table on the site plan document that has all the zoning requirements. And what it says is that the parking required for the existing uses is 37 for the retail uses. That's English Apothecary, the bank, and the two uses on 126. 20 more for the restaurant, 20 parking spaces, totaling 57 parking required for the existing. The residences require 39 parking spaces, so a total required is 96. A 25% reduction brings us down to 72 spaces, and that's exactly the number of spaces that we're proposing. We are sacrificing 2 of the existing spaces for the minor expansion to the rear of the building. There's no choice there. So that's what I have to start. If I can find my presentation here. I'm going to turn it over to Chris Mazzell. He's going to start by going through some of the context photos. So we're required to submit these as part of architectural review for projects in the Village District and TOD, and just let him talk about the the vicinity of the project. I don't think Chris knows exactly what order these slides are in because I did them, not him. So he's going to have to wing it. Chris Mazzell of BBS Design, and then he'll go over the elevations for the proposal.
Good evening again for the record. Chris Busnell, BBS Design, Project Manager. Nice to see you all again. So this is an existing photo of the front of the building, and the roofs on top of the building right now are parapets. They're fake. They don't go all the way. So actually the building has a lot of flat roofs in the back. So this is just for looks. The building right next door to it is obviously Jacqueline's. Excellent breakfast. So, we're basically gonna tie into over here next to it with our addition, which we're gonna go over in a little bit. But basically, everything that is to the left and to the right, if you can show me some of the slides, Peter. As you can see, the 2 to 3 story buildings with roofs on top. So the idea was to match the flow of the existing buildings on the street that had multiple stories, that had the roofs on top. And, you know, if you look at the property in between all these, it's like this whole gap. It's just like a hole. There's just no fluidity to the whole scape of the street. If we look to the right of this, like down the road towards Edison's Kitchen there, some of those buildings are 2, 3, 4 stories tall, roofs, you know. Buildings across the street also have 2, 3 stories. So what our original design idea was to create something that's harmonious with the whole Greenwood Avenue streetscape. So that was the basis of our original design. And then we kind of started from there.
We got a couple shots of the rear.
Yeah. Again, this is a fake roof here, and then it's all flat. So our basis for the design was to start creating a nice, homogenic, you know, approach to the whole building. And based on parking and zoning and discussions with Beth, and the bottom line was we came up with 16 total units on 2 different floors. There's 8 units per floor. 4 units are 2 bedrooms and 4 units are 1 bedroom per floor. Now, on an apartment building especially, this ties into what Peter was talking about, the hardship that we had providing egress to the front. We couldn't just have an egress in the back. So that's where we applied for the variance that we were granted to create the egress stair tower and exit for all the apartments above. And that kind of became like a focal point. So basically, that was the purpose for this stair tower, was to provide egress from all the apartments. It was like a secondary means besides the rear. And that's dictated by the building codes, obviously for safety. And we spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out another way to provide egress from within the existing building. It was basically impossible. The store already will be affected by some of the structure that we have to do. And we basically had no choice but to provide this tower structure to connect all the stories and egress to the street. None of the existing first floor is being touched at all. The pharmacy stays intact. The bank structure stays intact. And we're actually gonna take the existing drive-through and put some nice railing on top of it to make it a little more attractive. So then we're getting into the design of the actual building. Like I said, it's 2 stories. We consulted quite a bit with Ms. Volpati, the town architectural consultant. Her input was pretty valuable, and we did a few back and forths, and I think we came up with a very attractive building that fits within the overall streetscape of Greenwood. And we have some material, board, the shingles. We're trying to basically make it like a very warm and inviting, not necessarily like a black and white thing. So we have like a driftwood shingle, herringbone siding for the, overall, brick veneer to match the existing, PVC white trim with decorative brackets and crown molding. And, I'm trying to cover some, other things that are very important about what we also provided for the design. This is, we did a few, rendering concepts. By no means they're set in stone, but just to give the board members and the public an idea of what this might look like. And, I want to kind of zoom in, renderings. This is like a bird's eye view. You can see that we provided like fake roofs over the entire thing to make it more attractive and look like, the adjacent buildings on the street. This is a view from the other side, from the left. This kind of a straight on from across the street. And this will be the bank drive-through area. Another bird's eye view. I think this is all we have. Yeah. A couple other things that I do want to mention that are very important to kind of tie into the support letters that we've received. Besides the fact that we're providing real nice apartments, all these units are designed to be accessible. We have an elevator in the back, and that's what Peter was talking about. We're losing a couple of parking spots. We're actually providing an elevator service in the back, and therefore we're able to make all the units in the entire building accessible. They can be outfitted to, if a person has special needs or is in a wheelchair, the unit can be outfitted right away to provide that kind of access. Let's see. From a safety point of view, we have a fully sprinkled building on every level. We're going to sprinkler actually the stores too. And we have the fire separations required. Let's see, what else can we talk about? It's a wood frame building with steel frame structure and, stuff like that. But at this point, it's a quick overview of the units themselves and the building and how we've envisioned the project to tie in into the streetscape from the get-go.
Thank you, Chris. Diana's just going to talk next, but I promised him I'd have the plans on the screen, and I don't for some reason. So give me a second to call them up. I did want to point out that we have gone back and forth with Alyssa Volpati quite a lot. We got some additional comments today that mostly address the stair tower and the bottom of the stair tower. We're willing to meet with her again, take her comments on board, keep working and iterating the design. I think that's important. The only thing we don't want to do is keep redesigning the building. The Dinas is going to be mad at me because he totally didn't have to bring his plans. So why don't you start with your plans, Dinas?
I have paper copies. I can.
David,
do you have them?
I can bring up the presentation, Attorney Olson.
No, you can't, because for some reason it didn't sync when I put the plans in it. So.
For the latest revised plans?
If you have Dinas's one that he sent you directly, you can call that up.
I do have that.
That would be great. Let's do
Okay.
that. Okay.
Just bear with me 1 second while I get those up, Mr. Gozokis. We don't want these.
No, not at all. Trouble follows me.
So I have
Good.
the,
Perfect.
okay. And is there a sheet you want me to start off on?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
Just zoom in a bit.
Okay.
So for the record, Dinas is professional engineer with our Excel Engineering Group here on behalf of the applicant. And my part Basically, my speech, though, the thunder was taken away by Attorney Olson. So we'll talk briefly about the site and how we're making minor modifications to enhance the parking and to provide a little bit of greenery to the back of the property. So as Attorney Olson had noted, there are 74 parking spaces on the site currently. And because of our bump out that's required for the elevator in the building, we had to sacrifice a couple of parking spaces. So now we're with 72 parking spaces proposed on site, including 3 accessible parking spaces. 2 accessible spaces in the vicinity of MT Bank and 1 at the far end of the property, providing accessible spaces throughout. Part of our planning was to try and keep vehicular circulation, I guess, flowing in a manner in which it minimizes any conflicts or controversies. So we thought it best to kind of retain existing flow patterns, or at least the way I always come in, which would be going basically in an anti-clockwise fashion around the site. So what we've proposed was a landscape island here to restrict flow back out of the site from the rear parking in a clockwise manner. So again, cars would come in and circulate around the site until you find a spot to park. And then when you leave or come to this intersection, there's a stop sign that we're proposing, and you may either turn right and go through the drive-through or exit the site, or you have the opportunity to circle around again and turn to the left. I only bring up this point because part of the engineering review that was conducted on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Department had made a suggestion that we extend this island, forcing all vehicles to make a right-hand turn. And I thought it better to not do that, not to restrict this movement, so that people, again, if they do not find a parking space, they have an opportunity to circulate once again around the site rather than be directed out into the road and fend for themselves elsewhere. So we've disregarded that that comment and kept this landscape island and counterclockwise circulation driving pattern. What we've also proposed, because things are a little bit steep and the accessible entrance to the building is questionable with respect to meeting current accessibility codes, we did propose a small section of ramping or elevated concrete walks to bring ourselves up to grade. And then from this point, once you've entered in onto the sidewalk, you're able to access both the bank as well as the apothecary via accessible sidewalks. The review comments also from the engineering review asked that we provide an accessible ramp or a ramp to the loading area that's being proposed in the vicinity of the stair tower. And to that end, we did add in a level landing in the center of that and gentle ramps going up in either direction. So we paid attention to providing accessibility to this portion of the site. In addition to doing that and reconfiguring some of these parking spaces, we have added some greenery to the back of the site. And we'll get to the landscape plan, but I wanted to point out that, again, now we've got a proposed landscape island here, We've got a couple of landscape islands here, creating kind of a focus and directing pedestrians to come up and through this landscape area to access the sidewalks along the rear of the buildings. Got another landscape island here. And we've proposed to cut away some of the asphalt behind the existing buildings and create some green spaces, little seating areas or landscape areas, again, to soften and provide a little bit of a place for rest and a place to breathe when in this development. If we go to the landscape plan, that would be the second sheet, please. And I'll do my best to talk. And again, we've got limited area for landscaping, but we tried to make the best of it. And Elizabeth in our office has proposed flowering cherry trees in the primary landscape islands by the apothecary as well as the bank, and in this main island, entry island. And these flowering cherries have kind of a V shape as they grow up, so that there's no intrusion of branches. It allows for vehicles to flow freely around the site with no obstruction. People can walk by without getting hit with branches also. And they do provide some pink flowers in the springtime, giving a pop of color to the site. This landscape area entering in midway through the site is proposed to be landscaped with roses, which should give plenty of color throughout the spring and into early fall. And similarly in these seating areas and lawn or landscaped areas, also proposed to be planted with roses, adding color to the area, and interspersed with some pine trees, which would provide a bit of color in the wintertime and give some character to the rear of the site. And as I mentioned, there's a small seating area in this vicinity, again, which should bring a bit of landscape to an otherwise concrete and paved area. Some comments from the health department. Basically, we're about enclosures, trash enclosure, recycle enclosure, and what we've proposed is where the existing dumpster and recycling containers are located in the back left corner of the property. We propose to put an enclosure. I'm suggesting that we perhaps make it out of block so it's more durable. And the enclosure is about 8 by 18 feet dimensionally, which is enough room for a couple of substantial containers to be placed on site. Pickup is relatively easy by truck. Trucks can enter in, load the goods and take off and circulate right around the site and leave. And then based on volumes and as tenants fill in, move in, we'll be able to determine how frequently the trucks will have to come, whether it's once a week or twice a week, depending on how much waste is generated. We had received comment from the fire marshal as well. He had asked that we prepare a truck turning plan for their aerial vehicle. I believe that is also in the package. David, I was wondering if you might be able to scroll to the final sheet. Oh, one more. Darn, it doesn't really come out too well, but basically the fire truck comes in and can circulate around the entire site without any occurrence or interference with any vehicles that would be parked on site. In order to achieve that too, we propose to restripe some of these parking spaces at the far end of the parking area to allow that fire truck to circulate without incident, regardless the situation. And to that end, I guess that's about it for my presentation. Oh, one other thing, by introducing these landscaped areas, we are reducing the impervious cover a little bit on site. And as there are no issues with the existing drainage, it'll only function with that much less water going to it than that currently flows. So everything drains, no issues, and will continue to do so. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, or.
Thank you, Dennis. We did receive a comment letter from SLR, and these plans reflect that comment letter, but we have not had further review from them. So it wasn't our intention to ask you to close the hearing tonight, because we do need to get that back, and I think we'd like to have comments from the town planner as well. So, but otherwise, that's all we have for tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
I don't have much to add, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you for asking. And I'm not going to try to be long-winded with any comments that I would have. But there is some food for thought that I will eventually get to. As Attorney Olson mentioned, there are revised plans that just came in today. So you'll have to have those reviewed by SLR, Health Department, and obviously, Ms. Cavagna will also have to add her comments in for the record, just to make sure that that's in there. Obviously, we have the ZBA variance that was granted, so that's also something that the commission should consider. There's also previous public comments, that is other public comment that was received before the comments from this past Friday. So those are all on the Google Drive for anyone to read those. And that's all I had for housekeeping stuff. Okay. So the food for thought that staff would add at this time, and the commission really should discuss this during the deliberation phase. All of the presentation material that has been given thus far by the applicant focuses on the building itself with respect to how it will look on the sides that are visible from Greenwood Avenue. And it just focuses on the building. As Mr. Busnell may have alluded to, you want to also consider how the additional stories to this building would interact with the streetscape that surrounds the property itself. So here's some street view images that I'm going to pull up on the screen, just so you can consider them, because what's been given to you as part of your plans thus far, they only focus on the 126 structure, if I'm not mistaken. So if everybody can see my cursor way over on the right, this is where M&T, well, the former M&T Bank and English Drug and the other building that were shown in some of those renderings are. These are other buildings that are located further down the street. This is just one view. Here's another view if it's going to come up on the screen. Here we go. Just bear with me here. That's the one. Here's another view from the opposite direction, going what that would be eastbound, where the bank is over here and English Apothecary is further in the foreground. The other structure that's shown in the renderings is here, and then you have the other buildings continuing on both sides of the street this way. So the renderings sort of include that. So you would want to visualize how those new stories will look with respect to what's there now. That's something that the commission should really consider. Another thing that you also should consider, and you have requested me to add this into the record, Madam Vice Chair, and then hopefully they'll come up. This space of Greenwood Avenue, the buildings that you see today, they haven't always existed as they are now. This space, in other words, it's always been in a state of flux. The photographs that are in meeting room A down in town hall, I'm going to bring those up on the screen
From
right now.
historical society.
Yes, exactly. They reflect that. So it's worth the commission acknowledging that while it's very easy to get drawn into what you can see and what may have been there for a long time, but there's other things that may have been there before. That certainly would have changed how you would assess that streetscape from either of those views that I just brought up. So I'm trying to get those up here as I speak. Bear with me. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see this? So this is one image. With respect to buildings that may seem larger in size. I don't know what this was. There's signage here for Seymour's Cash Grocery. I think this is in the area for where La Zangara and the Greek restaurant are. That's one view with respect to how this area was in the past. Here's another one. And this is a similar view to what I had shown before. I apologize for the blur in the background, but English Drug and the bank would be way over where my cursor is now. And it's pretty obvious to see some of these buildings are still there. Some of these buildings have changed. So it's easy to look at this and say, you're going from a change of 1 story to just 3 stories, but this entire area, it's always been in a state of flux. So that's really all I have to add. I'm sure Beth, when she comes back, would have more insight on this.
Could you bring up your very first picture?
Sure. Let's see if I can do it again. Aha. How about this one?
Yeah, I was noticing the false roof lines there. Is that what you're talking about? How they're
Not necessarily the false roof lines, and I'm not going to try to impersonate an architect because I am not one, so I wouldn't know exactly what the terms for the certain features of a building to be. Obviously, you can see this building appears to be 3 stories. As to where the roof line exactly ends, I can move the cursor down and perhaps you might be able to bring that. The trees may impede that. But it's obvious here on this building, you can see that this is where the roof line ends, and this is there's a name for this kind of feature.
Parapet.
I'm sorry?
Parapet.
Parapet.
Parapet, there you
Okay,
go.
but you can see how high that is with respect to the rest of the building itself.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's all I have for you at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will go to the public. Please come up and give your name and address, please.
145 Greenwood Avenue, Malcolm Barksdale. I live directly across the street from the proposed development, and I am in favor of it. I do have some questions. And first, the first thing that I have in mind is, what is your target population? And the breakdown, for example, of ages of people that you expect to attract as residents. Seniors, working adults, children,
Mhm.
you know, because, for example, if there are, if you do expect to have children, then do you provide for them in any way, for example, any sort of recreation area?
Mhm.
Because children actually live in the development. And also on the issue of parking, I noticed that, for example, there's a parking lot, and the existing parking lot has 74 spaces, 72 are gonna be available, but that parking lot serves more than just the two buildings who are gonna undergo development. And so I guess there's a question of adequacy only because I saw somewhere, there was some discussion about shared uses. The businesses, currently use those parking spaces, and the proposed residents are going to be using them. And so there's a presumption that I guess everybody's gonna be working during the day and the businesses can use the parking spaces in the evening. Is that correct? I mean,
We'll answer the questions when we're.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
And so that was, did you consider that if, let's say, your target population is working adults, do you presume that all adults are gonna be working and won't be parking during the day, or will some people be working at home? All of that will affect how many spaces will actually be available. And the rest, okay, I won't go into further, but
Well, yeah, you'll be a stuck around if you like it. If you think of something else after the first round is answered, then you can come, you
But
can
yeah,
ask
but
another.
the issue of how many people in the target population and what the breakdown might be with regard to age, and how many might actually have automobiles. You know,
Good.
and play space for kids if kids are anticipated.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has a question? Patrick Wild. All right.
Patrick Wild, 31 Nashville Road Extension. Is it possible to bring up the color images of the architectural drawings? Because I can't really ask my question unless I point out something that I saw in the drawings.
Do you want me to bring those up with you, Nielsen, or? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
While I'm bringing them up, can I just ask Mr. Wild where that fountain was located?
That was at P.T. Barnum Square, right
Was
where
it
the
P.T.
Dover
Barnum?
statue is.
I thought it was in front of where it is the kitchen is now.
What is?
It's the kitchen.
No, it was.
There was a fountain.
There was a fountain right in me. You're wrong. Yes, that's
Yeah, P.T.
right
Barnum
in
gave
there.
that to us in 1881 and it was taken down in 1923. I wanted to offer the commission, I have some other pictures
Yes,
that
you do.
show that spot more clearly. In fact, I know I've got a picture from the old Bethlehem News that
Oh, my God.
shows that section and it's talking about a plan has been put forward to build the current English Apothecary building. So if you want to see what was there like in 1966.
I think you sent it to Beth.
Okay.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, whatever
And
works for
then
you.
we could show it here.
Okay.
That would be great then.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
This was the question I had. I'm curious as to what is this blank white freestanding wall between Jacqueline's and the.
Oh,
English Apothecary.
I see.
Yeah,
I
this,
see.
this,
Yeah,
this
you're
right.
right.
Yeah.
Another rendering.
That, what the heck is that? So I'm asking, what is it and why is it there? What is its purpose? But That's basically all I have.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Okay,
I didn't see it from before.
thank you.
Too far away from me. Okay. Anyone else? Cynthia?
Cynthia McCartney, 19 Elgin Avenue. I've got no issues with this project. I mean, it makes sense. And some of my questions were asked, but one is about the parking, just to expand on that. A lot of people do work from home, and I feel like there's two universes here. One is the one that thinks that people go to work, and then there's.
Not anymore.
Well, I'm saying
sorry.
that the parking, maybe we're not exactly calculating it in a current way, because we just had two adults here, people work from home, you know, people work from home.
People do?
Yeah, so that was one thing. I say also let's bring that down.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what happened to that fountain? I used to do the historical tour with Bethel. No, it froze to death.
Oh, right.
In the winter, the pipes would blow, and therefore it had to be taken apart.
But my real question is, what is, the median rental, like amount that, whether.
Need money?
Money.
No.
We don't ask that?
I don't know.
I'm asking you. If that's the median.
It's a question that if.
That can be asked.
if you-
I've never had that asked. And
It's
I'm
curious
not sure if
because-
the applicant would be able to provide. an
Sorry,
answer.
I was asking Dinus a question. I didn't hear the last bit.
there was a question asked about how much the rent would be.
Yeah, and are they 1 2-bedroom apartments? Are they 1-bedroom apartments? Are they studios?
Or they're half two and half one.
Okay, but it's just interesting because a lot of the support letters were talking about a certain type of population and how, you know.
I thought it was pretty varied, but that's all right.
Okay,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Perception, you know, whatever.
True.
But that's why I was wondering, you know, affordable was used and all that. I'm just curious about what the median rent would be. That's all.
Thank you. I don't think affordability was mentioned, but
Well,
But
I
we'll-
use
we'll
that
let
word
them
not in
answer
the
that
legal-
question.
Not in the legal term. I meant it just as
Oh,
a
okay,
word
gotcha.
that was invented a long
Gotcha.
time ago. That's what it means.
no, thank you. Thank you.
And you just write down this place.
Okay, Mr. Goltz?
Hi, Brad Goltz, one, a couple of questions, one related back to parking. We've seen other projects in town, 155 Greenwood's a perfect example, where we were told something very similar, that less than the normal number of parking spaces would be adequate because people go to work and people come in and shop, and then people stop shopping and they come home. But if you've ever looked in the adjacent parking lot, you can see 15 to 20 cars of people who are doing business in the business area because there's no parking around on the other side.
Where are you talking about?
I'm comparing this to 155 Greenwood.
And what is that?
That's the
Number, what building is that?
that's the building that straddles from School Street.
Oh, the new
Greenwood Avenue,
building.
the new building.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's all you said. All right.
So I'm just asking, the commission, please give some thought when you're looking at parking. I'm not sure well, I am sure. We're talking about adding 16 apartments, but reducing 24 parking spots, which is more than one parking spot per apartment. That seems excessive, and I'm asking that the applicant and the commission maybe rethink such a dramatic reduction. I also have an unusual request for the commission, and I'll understand if it's too unusual. I had not planned on presenting a petition relative to the TOD at this point in time. However, because the TOD has been cited as a reason for removing the commission's ability to make certain decisions and take certain actions, and due to the fact that in the span of time from the opening of this hearing to tonight, this petition has exploded to where we have 450 people who've signed it. I would ask that the commission allow me to give you
I would hope that you would wait till later. This,
can do that.
right now, this is a public hearing
Understood?
for this application. This is a totally different item. Well, all right,
I will
there's
accept.
fringe.
There
But
is
if
fringe,
you,
but I'll
during the
accept your-
public comments, if you want
I'll
to
be
bring
happy
that in, that's fine.
Well,
I think that is the right place to do.
yeah, it's
It's entirely your discussion.
I would appreciate that.
Of course it is.
I really,
Yeah,
thank you.
But I
Are
wanted
you
to raise
finished
it.
with your questions?
I am indeed.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have more.
I'm Nancy Sudik, 2 Ridgedale Road. So my question is, the other day I had to go to M&T Bank. And so I pull into the entrance and there's a car parked there.
Of course.
Of course, she was at Jacqueline's. How do you like that? I know, yeah, she's parked there. So you couldn't really get around her without going to where the exit is. So my question is this, egress and the exits, the entrances and the exits, is it going to remain the same as it is now? Or are you allowed to go out like where the, what do they call that at a bank? The, the teller, the automatic teller, yeah. Because right now I wouldn't even, the drive-through, thanks. I wouldn't even think to go out a drive-through.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious how you're gonna manage that. Thank you.
There you go. Anyone else? Yeah, please.
My name's Carrie McKenna. I live on Putnam Park Road. I moved here 3 years ago because of this cuteness of this wonderful town. And even showing the pictures of, yes, well, there are other buildings on Greenwood Avenue that have 2 or 3 stories. This does not in any way fit in with that character. This is my opinion.
Of course.
It's going to be a new structure. It's going to look like a new structure. It's going to smell like a new structure. It's going, in my opinion, to decrease the character of the town. Not only the structure of it, but you can't make a left on Greenwood Avenue into that parking lot. The traffic is so congested. If somebody tries to make a left, it's backed up, both ways. If you're there at rush hour, there are cars, so many cars going both ways. I mean, in the short amount of time I've been here, I've seen a lot of development on South Street and all the things that are being planned on Demond and Whitney and whatever. It just keeps going and going and going and going. And what you're going to be left with is another Long Island. If this continues at this that it's going, the town is going to be ruined. The traffic that you're going to be creating with these spaces going in and out of that little driveway, I don't understand really what people are thinking, that downtown is going to be a complete mess and unnavigable. And I would also like to know, is this going to be considered affordable housing? Because a lot of those comments, and I agree with what you were saying, a lot of those comments are saying affordable housing and in those terms. So is this going to be affordable housing, or is this going to be $3,000 a month rent? Because a lot of those comments were for affordable housing, and I have a feeling this ain't gonna be affordable for most people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to comment?
Yes, sir.
Please.
My name is Craig DeFries. I live at 123 Codfish Hill Road. I've lived here since 1982. And when I came here in 1982, this is just a little history, came there in 1982, by 5 o'clock, the only things that were open were the gas stations and the bar. It's not that way anymore. The place is busy down in town. Just to give you a quick thing, when my wife wanted to go out to lunch, dinner with one of her friends, I had to drop her off because there was no parking in town. None.
On Greenwood Avenue.
On Greenwood Avenue, anywhere. Now, also, the signs that you see that used to advertise the stores and the sandwiches and all that, the sandwich boards, tell you to stay out of my parking lot. So you can't park any place. So you can't cut out parking. You need the parking for people because the town is growing. And I'm not against growth at all, because where I live, up above me, there is tons of houses up there. And I had to complain about the fact that cars were coming up the street fast and furious. And then you got landscapers coming up, going around the corner at 45 miles an hour and nearly killing people. So I complained and got a stop sign because of growth. But I didn't say you shouldn't grow. You have to grow. The town has to grow. But there's only so much room in this town that you can grow without breaking the whole thing down. And I've heard it. What is affordable housing? Is affordable housing $150,000 person, or is affordable housing $50,000 person? Nobody knows. Nobody said anything. So there's a problem there. But that has really nothing to do with you. It has to do with what's going to go on. But the whole point is, we can't keep growing. We don't have the room. We don't have a parking area. I mean, this is going to shut off a lot of parking space. And they're right. People are going to stay home. People are going to have people over. People are not going to walk to the doctor's office. They need a car. It's going to happen. Kids, if you have kids, They're gonna grow up and they're gonna need cars. There was a parking lot. So where are they gonna park? On the street. What about all the deliveries? What about people that want deliveries, all the Amazon trucks? Do you have room for them? Who knows? If not, they're gonna double park on the street. Welcome to New York. You gotta understand, you can only grow so big. That's my comments.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else in this room? Yes? Cal Armo.
Hi, Jan White on Diamond Avenue. I'm going to shock a lot of people and say that I don't oppose this. I definitely think that we're in danger of overbuilding, but there are some things that I like about this particular development. First of all, it doesn't eliminate any existing green space. It doesn't have an absentee landlord. It's not in a residential neighborhood. And with the exception of maybe some traffic issues, I think that, it checks off a lot of boxes. And Chris and I have talked about maybe some tweaks to the coloring things on that. But that's, personal opinion.
No, I suggest
So,
even I'm sure the owners.
I
would
mean, I
like
guess
to-
it's a good thing. I like it because from what I understand, it's going to happen, and whether we like it or not, it just may not happen in quite that configuration. But I don't think it's terrible. And I think we do need it. And I have to say, I'd rather have it there than across from my house. I'll be honest with you.
Is there anyone else in the
That's
room?
coming too.
Ms. Kessler?
Hi, Penny Kessler, 22 Spring Hill Lane. Yes, no, yes. First of all, we are not turning into Long Island. We are far from Long Island. I have been there pretty regularly. Part of my work has been to schlep out to Long Island. We're not. We are Bethel, and we're a small town. I have never not found a parking space nearby within walking distance. Granted, I am grateful I am not wheelchair bound. I do not need, such as I don't need appliances to walk. But I have never not found a parking space. It may not be on top of the restaurant I wanted to go to, but I have always found a parking space. So I'm just going to add it. We need the housing. We need it. People are coming into Bethel because we have wonderful things to offer. It's adding activity to the town. There is parking in the back. Yeah, I think we could talk about that. It ticks all the boxes about a vibrant downtown without increasing the footprint. We're always talking about don't increase the footprint. We're not doing that. Sri is not doing that. By developing vertically, so it was funny. My husband said to me, is there like historical whatever to those buildings? And apparently not. That's what correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. It's going to match the other in style and in height, the other buildings. And finally, I really need to say this, Sri has created what everybody says we want, which was an alternative to the big box stores. Okay? You could go to the various, I won't name them, larger pharmacies. He's created a mom and pop store that people go in, everybody, you get recognized after you've been in there a couple of times. You go to the back, they immediately go and grab your stuff. He's done that, and that's what he's done for Bethel. The Volplanchester Crossing, if I'm correct, is 90-something% occupied, commercially and residentially. I think not only is he a valued member of the community, and I think he's doing a magnificent job over here. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the room? How about online? anyone else online who'd like to raise their hand?
Elizabeth Patty has her hand raised.
Okay. Okay, Lisa. Go right ahead.
You're muted, Elisa.
Unmute yourself.
Oh,
There you go.
sorry, everyone. Can you guys see me? No.
Yeah.
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay. I am trying. There I go, I think. There I go. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Elisa Volpati, 21 Judd Avenue. As Peter and Chris explained, I am the consulting architect for the TOD area. Some of you obviously know me, some of you may not. So I won't take a lot of time. And Peter explained very well that Chris and Beth and Peter and I have been working since at least March on this building. And we have been going back and forth, having meetings. And Chris really has implemented, I would say, 90% of my comments. So I feel like we've really worked a lot on the architecture to get it to this point. The one thing I feel recently that the stair tower has kind of taken a life of its own on recently. To me, it just looks really imposing. And it may just be the renderings from the angles that they're, taken. And before it had a flat roof, and now I believe the roof is labeled as bronze, but, it just, the red roof is just, for me, just, grabbing attention that is not necessary. I know we won't see it like we're seeing it in this image right now. But the thing that really concerns me the most is kind of the unpedestrian friendly base of this tower. So when you're walking by the windows of English Apothecary, M&T Bank, even, all of a sudden we're confronted with this stark, now a different color masonry wall at the base. And I understand why it's there. I understand the variance. I understand the stair has to go there. Maybe someone could answer for me the amount of sidewalk that is left. There's a tree there now. I don't know if that's actually there in the site plan or it's just in the rendering, but I'm wondering if two people can pass by in front of there. So anyway, I won't take a lot of time, but some suggestions are to do something to that base, either put in a false window or do some more detailing with brick down there. But I gotta say, it's just going to be a very unfriendly place to walk by if you're traveling along Greenwood. And as we know, this is like the dead heart of our town. I mean, this is it right here, across from the municipal center, across from everything that's happening now with the new building at 155 Greenwood. There's a lot of focus on this one area. And I think we're almost there architecturally. I just think we have some more work to do. And I am, here and willing to work with Peter and Shri and Beth and Chris so we can get this to where we want it to be. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, is there anyone else on Zoom who would like to raise their hand to ask a question? Seeing no one, would you like to start answering some questions?
Sure. Next time, you should let Elisa speak first. So you
I,
have to wait
well, she
till-
didn't raise her hand.
Ready.
I didn't see her at the beginning.
Sorry, you're right. I did not, Kitty.
Thank you.
We will continue working with Alyssa and Beth to iterate on the tower and that facade. We have some thoughts of why it's important that it be prominent, but we'll keep working on that for the next meeting.
Right.
Let me ask Chris Busnell quickly to answer the white wall question.
Oh, yes, please.
I'm actually gonna, if I may, Peter, can I answer just a few of the architectural questions first?
Sure.
With Alyssa, I just saw your comments today, and most of the comments on the list were very reasonable, and I'm looking forward to working with you again and with Beth to make sure that we get this to look phenomenal. And so we're all on the same page. We're not dead set on the brick material. The red roof, I take full responsibility for, and it's a boo-boo. It's supposed to be a dark bronze, and the only reason I made it that color is so it's kind of crystal clear that's actually standing seam, and you wouldn't have seen it if it was black. So that's the only reason I made it red, but it's be red. So take full responsibility for that. But again, I agree with you. There's a few tweaks that we can address to, make this really part of the whole building. And we've worked really hard together to, get the building to where it is at this point. And, her input was valuable, and we appreciate it as usual. So I have no, quarrels about it. That we'll get this to look amazing. Just to address a couple of the public questions. I can't really speak to the target population as far as age, but what I can tell you is by the size of the apartments, they're not really meant for children.
Can you give us an exact size?
The biggest one's like around 650 square feet. So it's not really an environment for a small child to grow up in. For people to work from home, again, they're really small bedroom sizes. The living rooms are not that big. So we're not talking with, big spaces here to say we can raise a family, we can raise kids, I can run my business out of here. That's just not the case. Especially the 1-bedroom units, you're gonna have people that really like the downtown. They beat to the train station, and some of these people are not even gonna have a car. So we have to keep that in mind too. Another question that came up was I think as far as play space for kids, that kind of ties into my question about the age group. I will let Dinus address the parking, but the wall that you are talking about that the gentleman brought up, it's actually existing there. It's a concrete wall, CMU block, and it's there to separate the two buildings. And the answer is yes, it would have to stay there from many reasons. And first and foremost is fire safety, because the buildings are going to be so close together. And we are keeping the new proposed 2 stories 5 feet away from that wall to create like a catwalk emergency kind of, walkway. You can go out to the front or to the back of the building, or firefighters can get in there with no problem. So that's the reason why the wall is there. It's existing and it will stay. So we're not putting that wall up. That's been there since day one. I think we answered your question about the colors and the finishes, so we're gonna work on that. One of the other questions that came up was the bank. The bank, the doors, the exit, the ATM, the drive-through, everything stays intact. We are not changing anything. We're not encroaching on the bank. So whatever you're used to going to the ATM right now, or inside or outside, or to drive through, nothing will change. Not one thing. And we talked about the stair tower. We talked about colors and finishes. And I'm gonna let my friends over here to finish up.
I'm gonna ask Dinus 2 quick questions. I would hope people don't try to exit the site through the drive-through. But Dinus, can you answer what the intention is?
Yeah, so the intention, again, Dinus, the biggest professional engineer, the intention is to keep the existing driveway curb cut in its current function and operational mode. In other words, one ingress and ultimately potentially 2, or just room enough for 2 to merge from the drive-through as well as from the ingress portion of the drive. So again, we're keeping things as they are at the curb cut to the site.
Can you answer Alyssa's question on the sidewalk width?
Yes, so from the front face of the proposed stair tower to the edge of the curb at the roadway is about 8 feet. I don't know exactly the positioning of the tree that's there or the size of it, but that's something we can certainly look into, measure, and and it's gone back, with confidence, the width that would remain by that tree.
Thank you, Dennis.
I think there's a fire hydrant there too.
Mhm.
And the fire hydrant is shown on the correct location. It's way in the corner by the exit of the driveway.
Okay, I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the Transit-Oriented Development District. The TOD does not deprive the commission or remove the ability of the commission to make decisions. The TOD is a zoning regulation that was adopted by this commission that sets forth all the criteria that you have to meet to do development under the TOD. It was adopted after a lengthy process where the commission took public comment over several nights. Had expert consultants that were brought in to prepare many plans and maps and recommendations. It's not something that's removing your ability. It's you saying, here's how we're going to make these decisions. And what you've decided is that in the TOD, it's appropriate to have the expedited process of a site plan review, which is an administrative review. You meet the criteria of the regulations, you should get an approval. So I want to be clear about that, but this is your regulation. You did it. It may not be, well, I know Kitty was there and I don't remember if Ken was there, but it may not be your individual decision, but you, the commission, prepared this regulation, adopted it and implemented it. And I think my personal opinion as a lifelong Bethel resident is you can see the effect in our downtown of the TOD based on the units that have been built and the people that have been occupied. All of our commercial space is full. There's maybe one unit, you know, 155. Not anymore.
It's full now.
There's a great coffee shop there now too. So, the activation of the downtown with people walking around weekends, weekdays, weeknights, everything. The fact that it's hard to find a parking space for some people at a restaurant on a weeknight is a good thing because it means those restaurants are busy and people are making money. And that's what was designed. That's what the TOD was designed for, was to bring people to the downtown, to help the commercial base push and make it an active downtown. And I think it's working. I think it's working great. I'd like to echo what Penny Kessler said about people's mentality about parking spaces, because what I say to people is you don't have a right to a parking space in front of the building you want to go to at the time you arrive. And having to park a little distance away and walk is both good for you, unless you have a handicap, but it's also good for the downtown because you're walking past other businesses that you can shop in. So we have to accept that if we want a busy, vibrant downtown, that parking is something that people have to be flexible about and plan for. That being said, the parking lots behind these buildings are owned by SRI RE LLC, which is the owner of the buildings and your applicants. Mr. Paveri is the principal. And that parking is for these buildings. It's not for other buildings in the downtown at the current time. It's not shared with anybody. So it doesn't serve more than just these buildings. Currently, there's 72 parking spaces there, and the buildings the uses as required by the regulations only require 57. So there's 17 extra parking spaces there right now. So we're not just adding on what's required. 16 units per our plans require 39 additional parking spaces. I've said to you, members of the commission, many times, I think that's way too many parking spaces for residential units. What we see, and I know we've made this presentation to you before, is you need about 1.7 parking spaces per unit, whether one bedroom or two bedroom. It's just an average of 1.7. And this is essentially requiring 2.25 when you include visitors parking spaces. So I think we're already talking about many more parking spaces than are actually going to be used. But the regulations give us this valve, a release valve, to say where you're sharing uses across hours, you can reduce by 25%. not 100%, right? We're not saying you can just give her all the parking for the residences. It's only 25% of the total spaces. So 24 spaces is what we're asking as a reduction. Again, 17 excess. So there's maybe 7 that, that fit in there. So the intention is that these are used at different times. And yes, it's true. Some people will work from home. Some businesses will be open late. Maybe people go to dinner, and Jacqueline's, I don't think is open at night, but maybe they open up at night for one night a week or whatever. And there may be some overlap there. But the idea is 25% knocks a little bit off the top, so you don't end up paving everything and providing far more spaces than are actually going to be used. So that's the purpose of that request. That's why it's built into your regulations. It's outside the TOD. It's been in there for as long as I can remember, that you can do this kind of reduction. Mr. Barksdale's question about target population, I think is a difficult one to answer, because I want to be a little flip and say the answer is our target population is people who are willing to write a check for rent every month in the amount that we want to collect. And that's true to some extent, that I think anybody who wants to rent here will be able to rent here. No age restriction. There's none of that. I think Chris talked a little bit about the design of the units. He didn't mention, he did earlier, but they're all intended to be handicap accessible. So that is a desirable characteristic for people who need that type of housing that will be available. And there's an elevator in the back we lost 2 parking spaces to put that elevator in. So I think we have to look at what the actual usage of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments in a place that's similar to Bethel is. Beth has prepared studies where she's looked at the school-age children in this type of housing in Bethel. And I'm sure I can have her submit that, but the number is exceedingly low. Children just don't want to live in a place like this. And sure, you may get 1 or 2, or with a very young child, whatever. But that's not that. While we don't have a intended target population, that's not it. And I would not expect to see children living in this building, or more than 1 or 2. Rents. So the TOD, one of the really important things that it did was require that 20% of the units that are built under the TOD be set aside as affordable to people who make 80% of the area median income. The area median income for Bethel was just updated 2 weeks ago, and it's about 148,000. So these affordable units are people who make 80% of that. Doing my math, 115, 120,000, roughly. At the current time,
You said the average median income is 148,000
in the Danbury,
in Bethel.
we're part of
It's going up a lot
we're
since
part
I
of
joined.
household
P&Z.
income?
we're part of the Danbury metro area. The
Uh,
median household income
okay.
is $148,000.
Attorney Olson, I believe the way that regulation reads, because I have 511J9 in front of me, it's 80% of the state.
Okay, state is 119,
Okay.
so the number's lower.
Say this over, yeah.
The state median income was updated 119. They actually both went down a little bit over the 2023 numbers. So 20% of the units have to be set aside as affordable. We will rent, I just want to call this up so I have the right numbers, at a market rate. There's not going to be any special increased rent or decreased rent. We'll rent whatever the market will bear for the units that we provide. If we set our rent levels too high, we'll lower them. If they sell out quickly, then next year, presumably the rents will go up. That's just the way market rent works. But I can tell you that the 2024 rental numbers for the Danbury area, which includes Bethel, for a 1-bedroom apartment is $1,825 a month. That's the average fair market rent. And that includes apartments in Danbury. So that's bringing it down a bit over Bethel. It includes Newtown and Brookfield and, you know, Richfield and all that. 2-bedroom is $2,221 in rent. So that gives you an idea of what the market rate rent units will go for. My recollection off the top of my head, the last time I looked at my spreadsheet that calculates the affordable rental value based on state median income is just under $1,500 a month. So there'll be three units that will qualify for that. Sorry, thanks. I'm trying to read my handwriting here to make sure.
Oh, God, I can't ever do that.
So I guess I would take issue with sort of the idea that this would be or wouldn't be affordable housing. The idea is that your zoning regulations have a requirement that we provide affordable units at a certain rental value, and we will do that. Otherwise, the units are market rate. And there shouldn't be any stigma attached to somebody who qualifies for an affordable unit. Number one, those numbers aren't that low, right? They're, you know, I don't think it's a bargain for that. And number two, that's exactly the type of housing that we need for our teachers, for our police officers who, you know, want to live in the town, for children of people who have lived here their whole lives. You know, as Ms. Kessler said, we need this. We need
And especially being that you're putting an elevator, so
yeah,
even seniors could go there.
yeah, exactly. And did I miss anything?
No, I
Sure,
covered
there's
everything.
something you wanted me to cover?
Yes.
I think that answers what was brought up by members of the public.
Just to compare, 155 Greenwood Avenue, all those 17 apartments have no children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your name for the record, please?
Shri Gopuri.
Okay, thank you. And I have heard anecdotally from residents of that project that the residents have no problem finding parking spaces. There was a reduction granted for that project.
Well, they have enough for their space now.
Yeah, yep. Yep. Maybe you have more information on that.
And, regarding,
Parking.
yeah, okay.
That's
So,
155.
yeah.
Sri is the owner of 155, by the way.
Yeah, so 155 parking, so far I purchased it as to September. So far, no complaints about from tenants or commercial spaces about the parking. In terms of parking for this space, I'm there every day, 9 to 7. And I've been planning this for a while. I give a lot of thought. Me being those in a business there and also my other commercial tenants, I gave a lot of thought, make sure, you know, it won't affect our businesses or our existing tenants. And Jacqueline's closes at 3. All the, you know, there are 6 apartments on the side, and then they leave to work early in the morning. And the bank closes at 4. And the pharmacy people come in and go out, take the prescriptions and go at any given time, not more than 3 or 4 customers in the pharmacy. So, in fact, like, you know, we provide parking for, you know, in terms of when there is an event, church, people coming to church. I don't enforce it. I don't put any signs, don't park here. So there's a lot of public, you know, which is also our customers who park there, which, you know, this is enough parking there.
And your number of spaces is?
72.
That's what I thought. Right. Okay, now there was somebody else who wanted to ask another question. Okay, yes.
Yeah, well, 2. 1,
We have to get you on the
I'm
machine. I'm sorry. It's very important.
what will be the typical square footage of 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms in the proposed development? That's the first question. And the second, with respect to area statistics, with respect to what apartments rent for. Is there a correlation between dollars paid and square footage?
But yeah, it's Chris to answer.
Because a 1 bedroom,
Oh, sorry.
a 1 bedroom apartment can be 850 square feet, 1,000 square feet. Or it could end up being, I think I heard a number of like 650 square feet. I hope that was for the one bed.
Okay. So are all the one bedrooms
Are there
one
other, are
size?
there other comments from members of the
Oh,
public?
I'm sorry. Yes. Was there anybody else who had another question? I don't see anybody's hand, so.
Okay. Let me ask Chris to answer the question on the square footage.
Are all the one bedrooms at the same size?
They're very similar, yes. I'm
Similar
gonna
or
have,
not the same size?
no, they're same
They vary.
size, I guess. No, they're same size. The
Okay.
two bedrooms are same size, the one bedroom on same size.
And what's the square footage?
The square footage, I have to get back to the members of the board because I don't know exactly,
Okay,
what,
so in 2 weeks, he'll be back.
you know.
Do you have a rough answer?
Off the top of my head, I'd say the one bedroom's probably 5 to 550. And the two bedrooms probably 700. So yeah, they're not big units.
Mhm.
They're not. That's why they're not really conducive to raising children. I don't see it.
And the answer to the second question is yes, size does matter
Mhm.
when you talk about rents.
No, I'm sure.
Larger units are going to have a little premium attached to them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But one of the things that we've found in the last 10 years anyway, is that larger units are not as desirable for almost an exact reason. And in fact, at 50 Stony Hill Road or 48 Stony Hill Road, the original approval for that project had units that were about 1,200 square feet in size.
Mhm.
And the market just changed right out from underneath that.
Well, because of
People want,
rent, yeah,
people want smaller units because the big ones don't get you that much more and they're too expensive.
very expensive, yeah.
Yeah. So I think most of the units that are being built in the TOD right now are in the 650, 700 size.
Mhm.
So, we're not gonna have rents that are out of step for that.
I just did some quick math and the one bedrooms are around 600 square feet.
Okay,
And the two bedrooms, say 21 by 36. The two bedrooms are around 750 square feet. So I was close.
excellent. Excellent. Okay, would committee members have anything they want to add?
Just a comment or two.
Please.
Did you consider doing the parapet similar to the other buildings on the east direction?
Originally, we had that design in place, Ken. However, going back and forth with Alyssa, we decided that a full fake gable roof would look much better from the two angles facing the building. So coming from Greenwood from the south and also looking at the building from the other way. Yeah, we did have the original building design with a parapet and it just did not look good.
Okay.
It looked like the rest of the other ones that David showed earlier.
Right.
It just kind of sticks up like 5-6 feet of wall and that's.
There is a variety of architecture in downtown Bethel, and I think this one
Mhm.
speaks more to the library building.
Yeah, it was just a question. The other one is above Jacqueline's, it almost begs to continue. Is that its future plan?
There's no plans at this time.
You never know.
Well, one of the issues is providing parking. Like that parking lot in the rear serves both of those properties. And once we
Mhm.
ask you for a reduction, 25%, we're right down at the bare minimum. I don't
The state's gonna give you a 45% reduction in 10 years.
maybe. So then we'll come back.
All right.
But there are 6 residential units above that building?
Next to Jacqueline's.
Next to Jacqueline's.
Not above Jacqueline's.
Yeah, there's 3 buildings there.
Yeah.
One of them already has 6 units. So.
Okay, that's it.
Is the stair tower, is that climate controlled or is it?
Yes, it will be all conditioned, absolutely. Heating, cooling, both the stair tower in the front and in the back. And the hallways, obviously, and corridors and everything, yes.
One of my questions is kind of related to that with regards to mechanical equipment. What is the game plan for that?
So believe it or not, having the new roof, the fake roof on top, we're gonna be able to hide all our handlers and all that stuff in there, so.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, I know, Mr. Wild said he could provide some other additional photos to give. We keep talking about streetscape and how it relates this building to the others. And we look at Google Earth, and the problem with that is it's got this kind of fisheye lens and it really skews the heights. I don't know if it's too much of an effort, even if it's a single line drawing of buildings adjacent on either side going up and down Greenwood Avenue. But I think that would go a long way to kind of showing the scale of this building as opposed to the other ones in the area. And then the final question is, and I don't know if you know this or not, because I don't know if you have it. Are you guys, you're going to be obviously staying operational during construction? That's the game plan for both.
So to answer that question also, we already engaged the services of a structural engineer. So we have like a preliminary report and design in place. The nice approach to this is going to be that we're going to keep the whole new structure somewhat independent from the existing, so we don't disturb the below. So it's going to be achieved by putting columns in, but otherwise the floor and everything else is going to be floating on top of the existing roof, not to disturb, because the bank just renovated their space. We don't want to disturb that. Also, we in preliminary talks to certain potential maybe builders, and we made it clear that we cannot interrupt the bank business, especially, and we are going to operate in such way as to not disturb their services.
And along the lines of construction, just, you know, thinking about parking, it's one thing that gets lost in it is during construction and construction phasing and where material gets laid down. Have you guys had those conversations yet, or is that?
No, it's a little premature, but, you know, when time comes, we're going to put everything under consideration and, you know, make sure we do the right thing. So.
That's all I have, right?
That's good.
So we haven't met, my background is a bachelor's and a master's in architecture, and 45 years in the industry. I like your proposal. I think it's well thought out. I have a serious concern with your entrance. That wall, that brick wall facing Greenwood, and the way the main entrance is tucked in, it reminds me a little bit of the Barton Apartments in New York City and Boston. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to give me a sense of.
I hear your concern, and our original thought was to have the exit up front. The concern is that, you know, and Alyssa brought it up too, is like, do you want to put even more traffic on that sidewalk? And do you really want to have doors opening out, in and out on that sidewalk? And that was the main reason we tucked it to the side, and to make it a little more concealed, if you want. Also, we didn't want people to think that this is the main entry. So in other words, we're encouraging people to go in the back, use the elevator or use the back entrance, and kind of deter them from using the front to congest it per se. So those are some of the thoughts we had when we did the site. I agree with you to a big extent that it's not ideal from an architectural point of view to have the side entry there and have this block thing. But again, the conversation we just had with Alyssa earlier, we will sit down and address that look, and just
maybe a little bit of natural light would
absolutely.
That
So we're totally open to definitely making that more attractive and you know, visually pleasing. So I completely understand your concern. I really appreciate it, but that was the thought behind it, you know, putting it to the side. What do you want for more traffic in the front, you know? So.
Okay, I think Bob and I just left them. So Diane? Diane?
Wake up.
Wake up, Diane. We're awake
Here, I'm here. I just had a couple of questions. On the piece that you're talking about on the left side of the building there, that's, you know, between the two buildings for fire egress or for a fireman to get there. How are you gonna deal with snow removal in that area? I mean, it seems like that's gonna be something that's gonna have to be continually cleared. That was one thing. Just trying to look at my comments. A lot of the things were answered by everyone. I agree with Sproul and with the town architect about that area in the front. That was my concern, that it's so prominent, and the height of the building there compared to the church across the street, I just don't think they should be competing with each other. So I'd kind of like to know the height of that versus the height across the street with the thing there. Let's see. I don't know if there's any other way of softening the front with any trees. I know you just have that one there, and I was concerned about the distance. I thought that when you got the zoning board of appeal permission that you needed it to be 5 feet, but you were saying 8 feet. I'm a little concerned about the parking situation, because when you read the study that was done, it seems to, use a lot of that parking back there as part of its parking. You're talking about putting pines in the back, and I guess I need to know what type you're talking about. Some of them can be, have a lot of pollen, and that would be a pain for people parking there and people with allergies. I guess that's probably it. The other question I had when I initially looked at the plan view, and maybe you could bring that up, is the elevator is 8 feet. And my question is whether or not you can get queen mattresses up that, or if it's just twin that you're thinking, what fits. We've just recently had to deal with moving something in my son's house, and getting things in and out can be a real problem. So just was wondering what your plan was as far as interior design wise, how things fit in those particular bedrooms and apartments. I think that's it.
We'll try to get height numbers on the tower and the church compared to each other.
Bob Legnard?
No, I'm okay. Well thought out plan, I think.
Chris,
Are you
can
okay,
you
Bob?
answer the
Okay, thank
elevator
you.
question?
So Diane, the elevator is actually designed to not only fit furniture and definitely a queen size mattress, the king and everything is rolled up nowadays, but it's also designed to fit a wheelchair. So when you fit a wheelchair, you can pretty much fit any kind of furniture and stuff like that. It's a 5-foot radius, clear. The elevator is actually going to be even bigger than that. So originally we did not have an elevator design. And it was to the strong suggestion of Mr. Papori's advisor to put one in. And the reasoning was for bringing furniture up and down and providing that kind of service to all the units, because right now you would only have a 3-foot stairwell going up. So that's why the elevator went in, and then by putting the elevator in, it required us to make the units accessible. So that's how it all happened.
Dennis, does your, I guess, drainage system account for snow melt from the roof in that small area next to the white wall of Dunning?
We hadn't considered snow on the roofs, but the roofs exist there currently, and I don't know. I'll have to confer with others to see how these types of catwalks are treated.
Usually that kind of situation where you need to maintain egress is no different than a sidewalk that people just constantly shovel. So, I mean, that's really the bottom line is, Mr. Papori is going to have somebody hired to get up there and shovel it off in the back, because it's just like an egress sidewalk. You just, you shovel it or you snow blow it. So, well, I mean, it's the reality of it. So, but that's how we're gonna approach
Could you bring
that.
that picture back up with the front of place, the front, Greenwood Avenue. I'm sorry. So thank you very much. That. That's what I want to say.
Yes, just give me a moment.
No problem. Ah. Well, wait for that. Dinus, if you would do me a favor, when I look at your parking on the back, could you be a little bit more dramatic with the pen? I mean, I'm looking at the eyes, I'm going, where's the parking spaces? And in particular, you know, once you're handicapped, I look at applications in a totally different light now. And I am very handicapped now. Just specifically where all the handicap parking is in the back.
Sure.
That would be very, very important. But really ink this parking spaces.
Well, we submitted new plans today. What we'll do is we will.
I'll have them right up.
Yeah, we'll darken the lines and resubmit it tomorrow.
I would sincerely appreciate it.
So that when everyone is looking at it, we're gonna see darkened lines. I find that sometimes, when we work with the survey documents, sometimes they come in at a lighter.
I wouldn't doubt that. Now, I have just one
It's
question.
even lighter, so, yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy, and that's very probably true. But if you look at that middle structure, now I see 1 floor, 2 floors of windows, and I see the apartments matching it. Why the third?
Just decorative, but again, there's something that we're gonna have to.
Would you mind? Because I find it makes it stand out like, oh my God.
So there was.
But if it was just you know, like the red thing came a little bit, came a lot lower where the windows are.
So there was two points of view on the stair tower, and we're kind of going back and forth, and we'll figure it out. One was, let's just have the tower because we need it.
No, I
The second, you know, was kind of me going like, okay, everything you see with a tower, it's a focal point, it's there and all that. So we need to have to find balance for it, and we're gonna get it.
We'll work it out.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm done. So I think we're finished. Okay, so I think we're going to continue this hearing until June 11th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are going to start our business meeting.
Madam Vice Chair, does the commission want to entertain adding 10 Topstone Drive to their business items?
Under, thank you. Work session.
Okay, I just want to make
Somebody
sure.
want to make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to add 10 Topstone Drive to our work session.
Second.
Excellent. Here we go.
All in favor?
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so regular business meeting, we have a minute of, I put my glasses on, I can even read
I'm
them.
just always concerned.
5:14? The minutes of 5:14? What is business?
That May 14th was the last meeting, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Even though you're.
That's all right.
Would somebody like to approve the minutes of, oh, no? Oh, no, first we approve it, then we'll discuss it.
First we approve it and then we amend them? No,
Yes, and then we
I
discuss.
think you make a motion to approve.
Right, and then we discuss. So go ahead, make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from 5:14.
As written?
No,
Second.
I'll second it and then we discuss.
Okay.
Okay,
Second.
okay. So do we have any discussion on said minutes?
We do, Diane. Do you care to cover this?
Minutes of 5:14.
I was online here and I didn't realize it says something about Ken Parsons leaving the meeting. I didn't see it where he came back, so.
He didn't.
He didn't come back to the meeting.
Oh, Because I didn't know when that was, and since we're online here, we can't really see what's going on there so
Yeah.
much.
No, he left the meeting last time and he didn't come back. That's why I didn't put he didn't come back. Because he didn't.
Okay, I wasn't sure about.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passed. Do we have any invoices?
No
Uh,
invoices.
No invoice.
Okay, so the work session, we added. Sorry.
We have to make a motion to add it.
I mean, Samantha Edelman, 10 Topstone, you have something?
Staff does not have a draft resolution prepared, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
But what I would advise or what I would advise the commission to consider is that unless you can think of any conditions or stipulations that you would want added to your decision.
We did.
Right.
One-
I do have.
Okay, so let's make a motion to, I'm gonna go to the first page so I can read it.
I have a question here before we rush on the president. Maybe we should table this to next week's meeting, but basically what we're dealing with here is they're asking for an increase.
Mhm.
Let's see, I have calculated this
It's
somewhere.
large.
44% above what's allowed.
Mhm.
Why are we considering this?
Well, it's a piece of private property, and I don't think anybody else is going to be using that property.
So why do we have regulation?
No, no, I understand. No, I
It's 44% above what's allowed, when it's without an approval. That's why they come to the hearing to
That's
say,
right.
you know, if it was 399.9 square feet, they wouldn't be here.
Wouldn't be.
That would just sign
If it was
off on it and call it a
400
day.
square feet.
Right.
But that's why they're here. So it's not to say they're exceeding what's allowed. They're just coming here to present what they think works for them.
Right, the commission has the discretion to allow larger accessory structures than 400 square feet. The mechanism to do that is with a special permit.
Got it.
Okay.
But if somebody comes in and says, I'm allowed 400, but I want to do 44% larger because I want to.
What was the exact square
What's the
footage?
justification?
They're not doubling it.
I believe the square footage that they gave was
Yeah, so it's 100,
576
it's 100 and
square
something.
feet.
Yeah, over.
576 on
Right.
400 is 44%.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So my question as part of my education is, if there is no reason for it, what's the point of having regulations?
That's a good point.
It is a good point.
There's
I've seen
no
it,
hardship,
but I
there's
have seen
no.
it where we have allowed it.
Yeah, but have you had a situation where you don't allow it? I guess that's what's rules.
Right, and
Possible.
The,
That's probably possible.
the mechanism for a special permit allows you to have the dialogue to inquire, okay, you're asking for something that's not normally allowed in the regulations. Why? What are you going to use the space for? What is it going to look like?
Mhm.
Is it purposed for something that's otherwise not allowed in the regulations? And I believe that dialogue that you had with the elements, unless there was a question that went unanswered, was pretty well hashed out. That they want to have an office. They want some of that space to be accessory for an in-ground pool, if I'm recalling correctly, that's already there, with a full bathroom. So it's not, the commission shouldn't get the perception that this accessory building is going to introduce an entirely different use to the property.
That's not my
Oh,
impression
okay.
at all.
Okay.
My impression is you're asking for square footage without justification. I mean, what did we say? No, build 400 square feet.
If the commission,
What's the justification for us approving this? Is what I'm trying to learn.
It's a request.
Well, he needed the space not only for his office, but I think it was for his children's, equipment, wasn't it?
right,
Yeah.
he has said he wanted this structure to facilitate an office, a full bathroom, space for whatever accessory use would coincide with a pool, and then for their children to be able to use their musical instruments.
Well, let me, I'm not trying to be hard nosed.
No, no, go ahead.
I'll go back and I'll say, accommodate that in 400 square feet.
If you don't like it, just vote no.
Right.
Well, I understand that part, Ken. That's not what I'm trying to understand what is our responsibility.
It's not our responsibility. They decided what they need. They present it to us and we have to say yay or nay.
Well, if the commission wants to say,
Can I also just say one other thing too, just looking at the zoning chart?
Mhm.
In that zone, it's 10,000 square foot lots. They're allowed to
Right.
cover 20% of the building. So that's in our regulations, 20% of land. The existing is 14.3% with this new building. It says here it'll be going up. Oh, wait, maybe that's not. They should have updated that. That's actually for the older map. I apologize that they were adding an addition back a couple of years ago. But I would think that they would still be under that 20%. So I understand what you're saying.
As a whole, yeah.
You know, what's the point of it? The point of it is they could do it at 400 and they wouldn't have had to come here. I'm just saying they came here, they pleaded their case. I
Mhm.
understand their case.
Yeah.
They're under all the other regulations, in my opinion. So I'm okay with it, but I understand where you could come.
Right, and I think it's a great design, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
All right, I think it's a tight design. I'm asking as a commission, where does our responsibility come in?
Well, if they come in with a special permit, then we have the ability to say yes.
Yeah.
A normal application, they would not.
You-
But
I'm
with this, they
I'm
can.
taking everybody's time.
Right.
No,
I understand
Can I?
that we can say yes and we can say no.
You-
My question is, what do we base that on?
their need.
Your
discretion.
you
And our
should
discretion.
weigh your decision with respect to does this accessory use, is there cohesion with the rest of the neighborhood as a whole? Would this disturb the character of the community as a whole for Topstone Drive and the greater area beyond? Is this in the spirit of the plan of conservation and development to encourage persons or property owners to allow to have accessory structures, to facilitate uses like they're requesting? It like Ken said, it is a request. You have the discretion to say yes or no.
Right.
And that's the simplest way to answer that.
And they can't, they had the decency to come in here and ask for it. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people don't live here and have built it. And we never know. I was told today about people who live in a certain area who have rentals in their house. And what am I gonna do about that? I said, I'm not gonna go, I don't have a badge, I don't have a gun, so I'm not going over there. But at least these people, and as I said, these people have the right to do that and came in here with a special permit to ask for it.
One other thing I would add to that discussion is if the impervious coverage was to exceed 20%,
then it would be.
they would have had to have gone for a variance before
Yes,
the
they
zoning
would.
board of appeals before they even came and submitted an application to this board. So you can know automatically that the impervious coverage is still under 20%.
Yes.
For the law. And that's why that comment wasn't raised during the discussion.
Can we vote?
Can we make a motion first? All right. Okay.
Didn't we need to also, Kitty, didn't we also need to add what Rob had recommended as far as, use for business, not using it for business
Yeah, we're
purposes
talking,
or whatever?
we're talking about that, Diane, as
Okay.
what?
That would be a stipulation.
Stipulation, thank you very much. You see, it's 10:30 and I'm, Kitty's going nuts out here. Okay, so I would like to make a motion, and we'll see how this goes. For Samantha Element, accessory structure, 10 Topstone Drive. To give, name, what, a structure,
Accessory?
To build an accessory
To
structure
build an accessory structure
Thank you.
of 576
Thank you
square
very
feet.
much. On the property,
Right.
and specifically to have that the apartment is going to be used by her husband as an office, no customers.
For personal use only.
That's
Only,
correct.
thank you for
That's
personal
correct.
use. Only. Anything else you can think of there too?
No,
Okay.
the stipulations are yours to come up. with
Second.
And the commissions.
Okay.
And there's a second on the
All in
floor.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion passes. Yes. Okay, so now we're going to, new business. NILRA Realty Corp. Site Plan Special Permit, 165 Grassy Plain. Are we doing a public hearing for the, are we doing a public hearing for this?
Oh, I'm sorry. So
We-
you have an application that is, I'm sorry. You have an application that is being submitted for the commission's acceptance tonight.
Mhm, yeah.
It is for a 20,000 square foot addition to an existing manufacturing warehouse
Mhm.
and proposed parking and loading dock improvements associated with the expansion.
So I'd like this sent out. We're gonna set a public hearing date for what day?
Staff advises that the commission schedules a public hearing to open at their regular meeting on July 9th, 2024.
7/9, and for it to be sent out to all, excuse me, all offices in town hall for it to be gone over. Looked at by the engineering and Laura and everybody.
I believe the commission should also entertain a motion to accept the application.
Accept the application for 165 Grassy Plain Street for a hearing, public hearing on 7/9/24.
Second.
There you go.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Okay, planners report?
I have nothing in lieu of Beth not being here. She did, have, a report that she wanted to review with you tonight. I'm sure that will be tabled for when she's
Next
available.
week, for next week, probably.
If I had to venture a guess, it would probably be for the June 11th.
11th. Okay, commission comments?
I've got two quick things and kind of both the rows tonight. I want to make sure we talk about them at least in the future.
Good.
The fact that an EV parking spot does not count as a parking spot is kind of crazy when we're looking to add EV parking spots in all of our developments.
Thank you.
So we need to revisit that at some point. I also think, I do agree with some community members tonight saying that our 75% reduction should be revisited as well with parking reduction should be revisited in the future, due to the fact that people do work from home. It's a different world that we live in. So I think it's something that we also should revisit in the future.
Okay. Good. Okay, public input. Mhm.
Good morning.
Not quite there yet.
I don't think so.
Side it up a little.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I request that the commission accept a petition that I started a while ago to ask the commission to consider repealing the transit ordinance. In the space of time from your last meeting to this one, we went from 301 signatures to 450, and it's gaining. I do have the petition along with some commentary that's provided from the individuals who have signed it, explaining why they've signed it. And I also have a cover letter that I prepared that explains why we prepared this and asked for you folks to review it. Given the late hour, I will take no more than 30 seconds. But given the history of the way the TOD was implemented, from the time that, well, many of your predecessors voted to do this, it took more than 2.5 years before the regulations were actually available to the public. During that time, this commission continued to make rulings based on a regulation that wasn't actually in existence. It's been very problematic, and it's been problematic since. TOD was originally intended to support the area immediately, or development of the area immediately around the train station, to support a very much more vibrant commuter population than we have today, and to use that as a conduit for more activity into downtown. The sidewalk doesn't even connect from the train station to downtown, so it's never been completed. Meanwhile, it was then expanded, and it is now, as Attorney Olson had pointed out, basically overridden and superseded a fair amount of the downtown district zoning, as well as the historic district zoning. There's a lot of development that's going on at a pace that the town can't support, and the public, I've got 450 signatures so far, and that's just from posting this on a couple of Facebook pages. I mean, we didn't really and aggressively try to get people to sign this thing. So I would respectfully submit this petition for your consideration and hopefully future action. Will you, I believe someone has to make a motion to accept it.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I don't think you did, but you might. I've never heard of that.
To my knowledge, a motion
Well,
is
we have to
not
do is-
needed for.
No, all we have to do is accept it.
Okay. I have a bunch of copies here.
Well, that's okay. We'll put it and find it, and we can all go over it.
Thank you
Oh,
so
we
much.
should that too.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Apologize for keeping you an extra 5 minutes. No.
Oh, no problem at all. So how we doing here, folks? Do I hear anything that I want to hear?
Can I make a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to adjourn?
Adjourn. Second.
But,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Objection? Go home.
So we meet again then, Kitty, next Tuesday, correct?